to right in the first half. They'll be attacking the south stand in the second half. We're good to go, except for some cones in front of us, which the assistant referee has spotted, but nobody else, and they'll need to be removed before we can get underway.
Yeah, there's still a member of the Oldham coaching staff on the pitch as well. Presumably he'll be picking up the cones, but one of the players himself has decided to take matters into his own hands.
Yeah, I think Mark Kitching's just flung two of them off the field, and the Oldham coach has just walked off the field with the ball tucked under his arm and left it to somebody else to clear the last remaining four cones, which were just on the wrong side of the touchline. But we are now all good to go. Oldham will kick off, which confirms that, yeah, they've got the kick off. Forest Green have got the choice of ends, and referee blows his whistle. Three Oldham players run straight into the Forest Green half before a ball is kicked. They go back to Matt Hudson in goal, who then launches a long ball to the edge of the Forest Green penalty area. Ryan Innes gets up, and it bounces into the hands of Jamie Searle, who gets the first touch, an early first touch, and a round of applause as well for coming out and confidently collecting that round about the penalty spot. Bowls the ball out, and Rovers have a little look down the left-hand side. Back to Cian Harris, who plays a long ball into the midriff of Quigley. Does well to hold it up and finds Garrick on the left-hand side. Infield to McCann, and then back to Robson. Goes back to Harris, and then he hits the long diagonal looking for Carl McAllister, but it's controlled by Kitching, who goes back to Hudson, who clears first time to halfway, gets rather underneath. There's a shove there on Adam May as well by Fonda, unseen by the referee or unawarded as a foul, and Oldham try and release Sutton down that right hand side, and he's unable to keep the ball in play. It's behind for a goal kick, and some good defending in there as well from Forest Green. It was a pretty blatant foul on Adam May, wasn't it, Ruben?
Oh, I wouldn't like to say too early on. I'm going to place myself firmly on the fence for that one. Maybe I'll come down from it later on either side. We'll find out. But Fondoff is a player who's tall and very powerful as well. Uses his power really intelligently.
Well, Searle's long goal kick, 3 bounces gone behind for a goal kick on the left-hand corner. No surprise that there's no Steve Cottrell in the Forest Green dugout today, but at the front of it, Russell Milton, who is officially the club's head of recruitment, but of course has known Steve Cottrell since the late 90s when Cottrell signed him for Cheltenham from Dover. So arguably the most trusted of Steve Cottrell's lieutenants, as over on the far side Hammond has it for Oldham. Back to Sutton, and back to Hammond again, who goes back to Charlie Raglan, and then Oldham switch the ball, but it's lost by Hobson, and Carl McAllister got a challenge in, and then Hobson recovered, but it was really good poaching by McAllister, and Hobson's touch let him down.
Yeah, but it was all started from Joe Quigley applying the press first of all. It was millimetres away from winning the ball back, and then it was passed square across to Hobson, who just took that extra touch, and yeah, before you knew it, McAllister was onto it, but it just got that fortunate deflection from the Oldham perspective, where it bounced off of the knees of McAllister and trickled out for a goal kick, but that could have been so much worse.
Hudson takes that kick, gets good distance on it again, 3 yards past the centre circle. It's flicked on and finds Yoganathan, who then releases Hammond down the right hand side. His low cross is blocked out by Adam May, and it's off for a throw in front of the changing rooms and the seated stand, the small seated stand on the far side, where there's a good smattering of Oldham fans. Oldham win another throw in. Ruben, you spotted some Oldham fans as well who've come in fancy dress today, as the ball goes back to Pett in midfield to Conlon. Just checks on it, changes direction, and then tries to get Sutton in down the right hand side. His cross to the edge of the penalty area is cleared first time on the half turn by McAllister. Great control by Quigley, holds it up, tries to bring in Garrick, but Garrick couldn't quite get there in time. Oldham regain possession. Hammond attempts to go down the right hand side, but Jamie Robson's got there and got possession, and then turns and clears. It's flicked on by McCann, and now an opportunity for Garrick to get over halfway, and then Garrick's second touch was a tackle and he's dispossessed, but Liam Sercombe now has it in midfield for Forest Green. Shouts of a handball against Sercombe, not given, rightly so as well, and McCann now gets over halfway as Robson overlapping outside him, ignores him, looks towards the right hand side to Sercombe, and then switches play back towards May, and then they do find Robson, who's level with the edge of the penalty area, crosses towards the back post, goes over everyone. It's retrieved by Carl McAllister. Good turn as well by McAllister around Kitchen, cross to the far post, headed behind by Raglan, and that's a really bright start from Forest Green. Good invention by Carl McAllister, last ditch defending by Raglan, corner to Forest Green.
Yeah, there's the deftest of touches from McAllister, just dinks it up and over his own head, over the on-rushing defender, just turns on the byline, beats his man, puts a ball into the back stick where the Oldham defender had to take necessary evasive action, knocking out for a corner. And those fans you alluded to are dressed as butchers, which is, I suppose, funny. You find it funny, don't you?
I do. I have to admit. It's part of football banter, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Forest Green are famous for being vegan. Oldham are famous for meat pies and sausage rolls and getting corners. They even made a song about that as May takes the corner. And then there's a header in there by Cian Harris, who was having his shirt pulled off his back, but he's headed it towards goal. Well saved by Hudson, who gets the throw out. And then there's a really good tackle by Jamie Robson on Urchabagaloolam, and it's off for a throw-in in front of the dugouts on halfway, which Kitching will take. Good header by Cian Harris. Probably couldn't get the power on it because his shirt was being pulled, which is, again, pretty blatant, wasn't it? Unless you can say, well, it had been 6 of one and half a dozen of the other earlier.
Well, he also caught the ball with his nose, I think he did. It wasn't quite a header, it was more of a face towards goal. He seems to be fine at the moment. He was just clutching at it earlier on, though.
Well, he's just got a header which was downwards, and then Oldham were able to put him under pressure again, but he's got that latest ball forward off for a throw-in, which Oldham take quickly through Sutton to Hammond down the line. Good tackle in there by McCann, giving a bit of cover over in front of Jamie Robson, the left-back position. And then Oldham underway again through Sutton. Goes inside Garrick, and then finds Urchabagaloolam, who crosses across the face of goal. And it's out for a throw into Forest Green in the right back position, and Sean Long will take this. Looks for options in front of him and hurls it in the general direction of Joe Quigley, but he's muscled out of it by Sean Hobson. Adam May puts in a tackle in midfield, and then Oldham's attack breaks down on the edge of the Forest Green penalty area, and Robson can find Garrick out on the touchline. Still inside the Forest Green half. Garrick back to Innes on the edge of the 18-yard box, square to Sean Long at right back, forward to McAllister. He then plays the ball over halfway, looking for Quigley, and he's blocked off by Hobson. But well, obstruction's no longer in the game. It's no longer an offence. It's been taken out of the game. It's been taken out of the rule book, and Oldham give the ball away to McAllister. McAllister to Quigley, who was offside, and there's a flag up against Quigley, and I think Quigley was half a yard off when McAllister played that ball, and that's fair enough. If McAllister had got the second touch, Quigley was back onside.
Well, it's the second time that's happened where a loose ball has just fallen really kindly for Carl McAllister. I bet you can't believe his luck at the moment. I'll be hoping that continues on throughout the afternoon, but the Oldham bench not happy with their defensive work. Specifically, Sean Hobson's just getting a bit of a mouthful from his coaching staff there, because I think it's twice it's happened from him.
Yeah, twice that Hobson has been under pressure, and Quigley still looking a little bit nonplussed at being flagged for offside. The assistant referee had his flag up outside the level 20 yards away from the corner flag. Oldham have insisted on taking a goal kick, and eventually the assistant said, yeah, okay, if you want to take a goal kick, you don't have to take a free kick for offside. As Garrick wins the ball on halfway, and then is then taken out by Sutton on halfway. Foot high as Garrick had just poked the ball past him. Garrick looks hurt, he's rolling around, and you would imagine the referee would want a word with Sutton. Conlon, his captain, is taking a word with the referee, and Innes is just reminding the referee, look, that's a bad challenge, and you've not even had a word with Sutton. You've just let him go and take his place at right back, ready to defend this set piece.
Well, the good news is that Garrick is now back to his feet. He is limping ever so gingerly, isn't he? I think that's a really difficult one to be on the receiving end of. I think it might have been the knee into the hip and he was a bit of discomfort at the moment, but he's advancing forward for now.
Yeah, he's walking better now, is Garrett, but it's one of those, it's late, it's pretty blatant, and it stops an attack. And, all right, 9 minutes gone, it's still 0-0 here on BBC Radio Gloucestershire, but that ticks a lot of boxes for a booking for me as Rovers take the free kick short. Back to May.
Once he plays when he wants. Shannon Baptiste, his legs made of cheese. You didn't know where that was going, did you?
No, I really didn't.
It doesn't make sense.
No, but I kind of like it. Yeah,
cheesy legs.
Yeah. What's that mean, Cal?
I don't know what that means at all.
Does it mean the crumbly? Does he get injured a lot?
But then it depends on what type of cheese.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Thing, isn't it? Yeah. You know, it could be a Swiss cheese. That would mean he's got holy legs. Is that what he means?
Could be a blue cheese.
Blue cheese stinky legs.
Smelly legs.
Yeah. We'll never know, I suppose, because we're going to leave that there. And I want to shine
the spin-off cheese podcast. Is it's getting a bit of momentum, isn't it?
No, it's not, Simon. Stop causing carnage already. We're only 10 minutes in. I think we need to heap some praise on Burnley, please, because on Monday, Easter Monday, all eyes were on the late kickoff, weren't they, involving Burnley against Sheffield United, and Burnley did the job. They won 2-1. And their captain, fantastic, Mr. Josh Brownhill, came out after the game and said, I'm speechless, all that hard work this season. We've been written off so many times. People calling us boring. We've bored our way to the Premier League. I've referenced it a few times on the show today, but he's been amazing this season. I think he's up for Player of the Season, and rightly so. He scored the 2 goals in that game as well. And, we sort of joke about Burnley and this boring tag that they've got, but nothing is boring about getting promoted and some of the scorelines that they've been involved in, winning 5-0 today. They get the job done when they need to. Their defence has been brilliant, and they've got flair players that can deliver. And then you've got a captain like Josh Brownhill to sort of carry the team. Calv, I know you're a massive fan of Burnley. You haven't found them boring at all.
Not at all. You can't be currently sat at the top of the championship on 97 points with a 51 in swing goal difference and be called boring. I'm sorry, that doesn't add up to me. I think they have built their team based on defence. As you mentioned there, touched on completely rightly, they've got some real good flair players in there that do excite, that do make things happen within the framework that Scott Parker's set out. But they defend first, and that's the way to play football in my eyes. You make sure you don't concede and you let your attacking players go and try and win you the game of football. Josh Brownhill has been absolute exceptional this season. He was an early feature in Coach Calvin's corner. I picked him out as a player that I thought was going to shine this season, and he's probably overproduced, if I'm being completely honest, especially in the goal department. He's somebody that's very good on both sides of the ball, defensively and attacking, but 16 goals so far out of his 41 matches this season is a great return for an engine room player like Josh Brownhill.
How key is it going to be holding on to James Trafford as well? We talk about all those clean sheets. Obviously it's down to the whole defensive unit, but I'm already seeing, now that they've been promoted, the rumours of, even though his team are going up, him maybe going to another team. That he's got to stay, right, in order to try and survive the Premier League.
It's an interesting one, yeah. I mean, for him, it's one of those things. I try to get into the mindset of Trafford.
Of a goalkeeper?
Yes, yeah. It's very difficult.
Interesting. I was going to say.
But I always want to give you the player's perspective, and I'm thinking from his angle. Yes, you could go to another Premiership team. Are you really going to be number one choice going in at a lot of different places? And even if you are, you could stay at Burnley. You're probably going to get the most shots you've ever had next season going into the Premier League anyway. That could be the best place for you to really show. If you believe in yourself as a keeper, stay at a club like Burnley, who are going to, be struggling to a degree. I think they will stay in the Premier League next season if they do the things right in the off-season, bring in the right players. But you're going to have shots to save as a goalkeeper. Who wants to stand there as a goalkeeper and have nothing to do?
I mean, the strange thing for James Trafford is, obviously, came in for that huge fee, and I think he'd done really well in like an England under-20 tournament or something like that. And there was a lot of eyes on him when he went to Burnley. Mm-hmm. On the sly, actually, a season back in the Championship was kind of ideal for him, wasn't it? It feels like he's now going back into the Premier League, ready, set. I mean, he could be a real star next year, and obviously, next summer there'll be a World Cup. He's already in and around the England squad. I'm not sure. Southgate was a huge Pickford fan, and he's never let England down. But I don't think there's that much love for Pickford. And you wouldn't rule out a really good season, a broken finger here or there for opponents. He could be the guy in possession when it comes round to that World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, he did get called up, didn't he? The one EFL player in that England squad, and Scott Parker deserves massive credit, doesn't he? Because he's built a brilliant defence in front of him. And Parker, I don't think Parker gets enough credit. I mean, this is his third promotion into the Premier League. He's taken Bournemouth up, Fulham up, now Burnley. Can he keep them up? That is going to be the big question.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't,
this season.
I think it's going to be massive for Scott Parker's career next season, actually, because if he gets sacked or they get relegated, then suddenly he's the guy, he's at risk of becoming the guy who can get you out of the Championship, but no one will trust him in the Premier League. It feels like a massive moment for Scott Parker's career next year.
Will they stay up, Calv?
I think they will. It does hinge on what business gets done in the off season, as Josh just discussed there. Keeping Trafford will be crucial to that. The likes of Brownhill as well, keeping some of the parts that have got them to the Premier League, and then adding additionally, they need to bring in a few real quality players, especially at the top end. No disrespect to the likes of Zian Fleming. I think you can do the business in the Premier League, but I think a key talisman for Burnley will be the difference of them staying up.
Would you try and make Marcus Edwards permanent, or would you want someone better?
I think they could get someone better, personally.
Jamie Vardy?
Yeah, maybe. You never know. I won't comment on that. Vardy's had a fantastic career, but yeah, I think the business in the off season will determine whether Burnley stay up next season.
Okay,
handsome lad as well, Scott Parker, isn't he? Wish him well.
He does.
As a fellow good-looking guy, I just sort of.
Yeah, he wears great gear as well. Enough of that, though. Let's get back into the Championship after this.
This is what you fell in love with.
Lovely little turn. Shoots right footed.
This is original football.
And it's in! It's a brilliant goal!
On Saturday, it's Crystal Palace.
Sends in the cross, and it's 2 goals in 4 minutes.
Versus Aston Villa.
All his players run to celebrate with those fans.
The FA Cup semi-finals. Today, watch on iPlayer, listen on BBC Sounds.
Total Sport, Squad Goals.
With Henry Liston, Calvin Andrew and Gabriella Dukes.
On BBC England.
Yes, you are listening to Total Sport Squad Goals. Me, Henry Liston, Calvin Andrew, Josh Shreve and Simon Mahon with you through until 5 and then through until 6 as well with post-match reaction. But big goals in and around the Premier League today. Brighton have gone 1-0 up against West Ham. Southampton, down and out, are 1-0 up against Fulham. But then into the Championship, where huge goals have gone in at Deepdale to start with. Plymouth have taken the lead. And it's that man again. If Plymouth somehow stay up, then they will be building a statue of Mustafa Bundu, possibly bending it around the Great Wall of China. He has scored again. I think that's 3 in 3 for him. Elsewhere, Sheffield Wednesday have taken the lead against Portsmouth. Callum Patterson with the opening goal for Wednesday. But Josh, what are the Plymouth fans saying about that huge goal?
Yeah, I love that Great Wall of China mention that was made the other week by a Plymouth fan by getting in touch with hashtag BBC Football, hashtag BBC EFL. And I can tell you the fans are getting in touch a lot today after that goal. One here saying, we're going down on goal difference because of the bad decision making pre-Musolic. Jamie says, nice lads, score another 15 and it's on because of the goal difference. And Brad says, please give Bundu a new contract now. He is on absolute fire. His finishing now is next level under Miran Musolic. We keep him next season and he rips the league up.
Yeah, he's been in great form, hasn't he, Cal? But have they left it too late, Plymouth Argyle?
It seems that way, doesn't it? They've given themselves an absolute mountain to climb at the bottom of the Championship. But, you know, it's nice to see Bundu sort of living up to the hype since he's sort of come into that Plymouth side. Himself and Morgan Whittaker both came in at around the same time. Morgan Whittaker obviously really stepped into those shoes as the talisman has moved on. Bundu's now looking to, as you mentioned, get himself a statue resurrected outside the ground if he can help his team get out of the relegation zone. at the moment. It's good going, but it could be too little too late, I'm afraid.
Okay, let's go through all the leagues then early on the show and see where we're at. In the Premier League, Brighton are 1-0 up against West Ham after Chelsea beat Everton 1-0 earlier on today at Stamford Bridge. Southampton are 1-0 up against Fulham. The other games are goalless. Newcastle, Ipswich. Don't forget, Ipswich will be relegated today if Newcastle win at St James's Park. Eddie Howe back on the touchline, which is great to see. Wolves versus Leicester, the other game. Leicester relegated last weekend with Liverpool winning. Liverpool 1 point away from the Premier League title. Into the Championship, Luton 1-0 up against Coventry. No, they beat Coventry 1-0 earlier today. Burnley beat QPR 5-0 away from home. All the games are goalless apart from Preston Plymouth. Plymouth 1-0 up away at Deepdale, and Sheffield Wednesday 1-0 up against Portsmouth. Simon Mahon, take us through League One.
Yes, in the early kickoffs, Reading won 2-0 away at Bristol Rovers, and Leyton Orient got a 1-0 win at home against Wickham. In the 3 o'clock kickoffs, Shrewsbury already down, but John Marquez has given them a lead there. They're away at Barnsley. It's currently goalless between Burton and Cambridge, and Crawley, Northampton, and Exeter, Huddersfield. In fact, not many goals at all in League One at the moment. Goalless between Stockport and Lincoln. Wigan are 1-0 up at home against Blackpool, and Malik Mothersill has just scored a penalty for Peterborough. They're 1-0 up at home against Bolton.
Into League Two, the early kickoffs today saw Port Vale beating AFC Wimbledon 2-0. Port Vale guaranteeing themselves promotion to League One. Doncaster beating Bradford City 2-1. Bradford City were down to 10 men. That is Doncaster also guaranteeing themselves promotion to League One. And Notts County beat Harrogate 3-1. Into today's kickoffs, they're all goalless apart from Salford, who are currently beating Colchester 1-0. Hakeem Adelakam from the penalty spot 2 minutes in, but I might have another goal coming from the Peninsula, and I'll bring you it soon. Has it gone in? No, I'll come back to me on this one.
Okay.
I've had an extra goal in League One. Josh Caroma with his 11th of the season for Huddersfield away at Exeter. Huddersfield, of course, had a bit of a horror run recently. It meant that their playoff chances drifted away. But now they know they're not going to get in the playoffs. They managed to get into a 1-0 win so far away at Exeter.
It's so interesting, Calvin. Maybe you can shed some light on this as a former pro yourself, but you see Shrewsbury 1-0 up today and Southampton leading as well in the Premier League. Why is it when you're down and out and it's confirmed that you're relegated, you suddenly pick up a result? We see it all the time. I'm just wondering if you can shed some light from the dressing room. Is that where it's all changed, the mentality?
Yeah, I think I've probably bored you guys to death with telling you how important the mental side of the game is. Football is sort of 60% ability, but that other 40% is your mindset, and especially at the top level, your championships, even in League One, all the way through. Players are all similarly capable. Most of the time, players can do different things. It's the mind that is the difference between a guy going to the Premier League and somebody just staying in and around sort of League Two. It's understanding moments that come in a game, how to behave, how to react, to do the right things, and then it's having no fear as well. Mistakes, you might make a mistake and then all of a sudden now you don't want the ball, you might do something different, you're not as quick thinking as somebody. But when you've already been condemned to relegation, all of a sudden all of that stuff goes out the window. All of the extra pressures of having to be able to win or do this, otherwise you're down, and all of the things that may hinder your performance are gone. And now you're free to express yourself. You're free to play a game of football and enjoy it. And all of a sudden, those teams start, pulling out results. As you mentioned, Shrewsbury condemned to relegation. All of a sudden, they find themselves 1-0 up, playing good football. Why is that? Because there's no external pressure there.
I mean, you talk about the sort of freedom. Is there not a big pressure of players thinking, where am I going to be next season?
There is that, of course. I think. But that should be with you throughout your whole entire career. Every time you step across the white lines to play, there should be an air of, this is my job. This is how I provide for my family. I need to make sure I do the right things today. And you never know who's watching also. So that your future takes care of itself every time you play, if you're performing to the level that you're expected, really. So looking at a team like sort of Shrewsbury this season, They haven't done that. So now, all of a sudden, the press has come off. Yeah, you might be deciding, I need to do this to try and get a move for next season or whatever. It's probably too little too late. A lot of the teams would be looking at every game you've played, not just one, and saying, okay, well, he's turned it up now, but do we want a player that turns up when the pressure's not on? Not really.
That hunger to put in a good performance to save your career, that's how I feel every time I step into the Squad Goals studio.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what
feel
we
like
try
it's
to
on the
create.
line every single time.
That's it. Hey, pressure builds diamonds. We try to create that pressure here every time you walk in that.
I've actually got some reactions from fans to Simon's display today. I'm joking.
Oh, please. Oh, come on. That would be tasty.
Hashtag BBC Football, hashtag BBC EFL.
Yeah.
Tell us how Simon Mahoney's doing on the
I've
mic
got mortgage
today.
payments to make, guys. I mean,
to be honest, at the moment, compared to Monday and last Friday on Squad Goals, it's quite dry out there today with the goals front, isn't it?
You say
The
that.
curse of the mic, is it?
The curse of the mic. Salford in Henry's game of the day. What are they doing to me? They're causing me all kinds of problems. Salford, the Ammies, are currently 3-0 up at home against Colchester. Liam Shepherd with the second goal and Cole Stockton with the third. 24 minutes in. Oh my goodness, it's unbelievable for the Salford that looks like they can confirm a playoff place, currently sat in second in League Two. And yes, I will give Henry his flowers. It's his game of the day. He
we
was
need a
4
live table
goals.
on that, don't we?
Yeah, he was 4 goals behind me in that. He is now currently 1 goal behind me in that as Salford lead Colchester 3-0.
We've had a big goal actually at the sort of the top of the of League One, because I mean that result earlier with Wickham losing against Leyton Orient in the early kickoff did kind of half open the door for Stockport, but they are now losing at home against Lincoln. Ben House has got Lincoln up there in a game. Stockport, if they've got any chance of going for automatic promotion, they need to really be getting a win today.
A goal in the Championship as well. Portsmouth have equalised in this game against Sheffield Wednesday. Harvey Blair with the goal, 21 years old. Is this a chance as well, Cal, this time of the season? Portsmouth very much safe now, and I want to talk about the great work John Massini has done there, but it's a chance to get some young blood out onto the pitch and start planning for next season, see who could be good enough for the squad. Yeah, certainly so. I think back to my career, sometimes you might have played all of those games to try and get your team safe. Once you get across that line, there's sometimes players playing with injuries. I remember playing with a broken toe for a long time that needed to get sorted out, but once we became safe, then I could sort of go and get my treatment, sort myself out for next season, and let some of the younger players come and get some experiences and whatnot. So yeah, it's a good shop window for them. It's good experience for them to be getting game time as well. And it's a nice feeling sometimes when you've been worried about getting relegated for most of the season, and then you get it confirmed that you're staying in the league. It's it's big relief. Okay, we'll stay in League Two. We'll go to League Two, and speak about that scoreline, the Salford scoreline. Salford cruising, 25 minutes on the clock, 3-0 up. But Colchester, this is a massive chance for them today to get into the playoff places, and they're blowing it, Josh.
Yeah, fans unhappy, such as Mark, saying that is the playoff chances over and done with then. Ollie says make them all walk home. Every single one of them are a disgrace. Jamie uses a strong word here, disgusting. Why is Cowley standing around not making changes? 1-0 and the game was still there and we needed to make the changes then. And Matthew says, we are in a great position and we've lost it. Look like we're back in a relegation fight with this performance. I'm livid. So many of these games in the last 2-3 fixtures have just been flipped on its head when you think the teams that could be chasing down the promotion places, playoff places, the teams that are struggling at the bottom, and it's gone the other way. So it's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on, especially for your game of the day.
Yeah, Salford up to 7th, Calv, as it stands. They leapfrog Grimsby and Colchester to get into the playoff spots. Great result for the Armies, this. It could be. I mean, the Salford way is to leave the door open for the team they're playing against this season. They are 3-0 up currently, so hopefully it can stay that way. It would be fantastic for them. But yeah, it's not all, sort of out the window for Colchester. Still 2 points between themselves and Salford and Grimsby. So you never know what's going to happen next week when you go into the last game of the season. But big news towards the bottom end of League Two. Tranmere have found themselves 1 goal up against Crewe. It's Tom Davies, the defender, probably up from the back, I'm guessing, for a corner.
Yeah, it's a header.
There you go. He's very good in the air, Tom Davies.
I love it when you predict how they're going to score.
Yeah.
We're always bang on the money, Cal.
A player I've played against a few times, I used to have to mark him as well, and I didn't like it because he was good in the air, so I had to keep him away from the ball. But yes, they find themselves 1-0 up, 22nd, of course, in the league table. It would put some distance between them and the relegation zone. Carlisle behind them by 6 points as things stand at the moment, but Carlisle are drawing in their game, so it could go down to the final week, or Tranmere could get it sealed up here if they win and Tranmere don't match if Tranmere could get it sealed up if they win and Carlisle don't match their result here today.
I mean, if there was any doubt of how he scored that goal, Calvin, the Tranmere Rovers social media account has posted a picture of him simply pointing to his head with the word goal.
That's Davo. That's the Davo I know.
Big header. Another goal in the Championship. Benjamin Nelson has put Oxford United 1-0 up against Sunderland today. Oxford United boss Gary Rowett is doing the London Marathon tomorrow, so I'm sure he'll want to do it. Oh, mate, I'll smoke him. Don't worry, tomorrow. Another manager, another person in the dugout today across the EFL who is running the marathon tomorrow is Mr. Jack Wilshere, of course, taking charge of Norwich City for the first time today because Johan Hoff Thorup was sacked in the week, one of two Championship sackings this week. Of course, we saw Baggies boss Tony Mowbray relieved of his duties too. But Jack Wilshere, this is maybe a chance for him to show his coaching credentials. 33 years old, joined from Arsenal. I think he was the under-18s boss there, but he's joined up with Norwich, and he said that he came as part of Johannes' staff. He believed in him. He had my full back in the whole way. He said he does feel some responsibility. Obviously, not enough to get the sack himself. You know, he's doing all right, isn't he? He's still there. So
so much was made of it when he came in, wasn't it? I for about 2 hours thought he'd been signed as the actual coach because of how much people were talking about it on social media.
He's a big name, isn't he, I suppose. He says there's mixed emotions when you have to start thinking, what do I see in the team? How can I try and affect how we play and where we can get the small wins? It's been an emotional roller coaster, but I've got good people around me. Is this a chance for him, Cal, to maybe get the job permanently?
Definitely so. I think anytime a player, as you guys have just touched on there, somebody that's so well known in the game, he's got fantastic pedigree. I remember watching Jack Wilshere play. I remember playing against him a few times actually in Arsenal reserves and whatnot, and how talented he was a player. I always talk to you about, former top professionals. If he can relate half of the ability he had as a player to the people around him, Norwich will have an absolute coup of a manager in that respect. But it's whether he can get that sort of information to translate. But it's good experience for him, certainly.
It really made me feel old when Jack Wilshere was unveiled as a manager.
Jack Wilshere, Tom Cleverley.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Michael
we've got
Carrick.
a hell of an England midfield in the Championship at the moment.
Scott Parker. We'd be here all day.
Carrick,
yeah. Plenty out there. Josh, did you have some reaction to the Wilshere stuff?
No, I don't. Other than my own excitement that there's another former England midfielder. Sorry.
Yes, Jack Wilshere in the dugout today, taking charge of Norwich until the end of the season, of course, and running the London Marathon tomorrow. I'll see you out there, Jack. We're going to go to the corner after this.
Do you love true crime, but you need something a bit lighter in your life? I'm Rima Ahmed, and my new podcast, Strange But True Crime, is different. Wild crime stories, more bizarre than brutal, that'll make you ask, wait, they did what? Daring art heists.
They have some thrill.
Outrageous love scams.
Her world really has been turned upside down.
Buried treasure.
Greed beyond the imagination of most of us.
One fascinating story per episode. Listen to Strange But True Crime on BBC Sounds.
Total Sport. Squad Goals.
With Henry Liston, Calvin Andrew and Gabriella Dukes.
On BBC England.
The corner will have to wait, Cal, because you've had a huge goal in League Two.
My days. We've just mentioned them before. We're talking about Tranmere and their League Two survivals. Carlisle aren't giving up without a fight. They have scored away at Cheltenham. It's Matthew Dennis with the goal for Carlisle. That will keep things probably pushing towards the final day as it stands. There'll be 3 points behind Tranmere, I believe. Tranmere, of course, are winning at the moment. So, no, it's a 4-point gap. The Tranmere could be safe today if they get all 3 points. But, yeah, Carlisle still trying to make things difficult at the bottom of League 2 at the moment.
Yeah, but have you checked in on them in the past 30 seconds?
I haven't. I shouldn't talk. Can I turn my mic off? Of course I can. Yes, Cheltenham have responded just as we were talking about Carlisle and how well they have been doing. Cheltenham won, Carlisle won. Jordan Thomas from the penalty spot 33 minutes in. Carlisle making things difficult for themselves once again.
Yes, it's all going on, isn't it? I feel like, Cal, we better get the corner in now before more bonkers stuff happens. So let's go. I feel it on the turf. I smell it in the changing rooms. Games won and lost. Those who listen will remember it. Forged on the waves of radio, bound by the strength of one man, one corner to rule them all. This is Coach Calvin's Corner! Oh, you beauty! What a pick, son! What a pick!
I love that, Henry. Got a little... Heard you do the little first.
Oh, could you hear me?
You did it live. Every time I do this show, I forget about that jingle and then it comes on and, oh, God, I love it.
It's blockbuster.
It's one of radio's great things, that.
Wow, thanks, Simon. Well, we're here. We're in the corner. And before more goals go in the EFL, Calv, I mean, you've only got 2 more picks. Actually, this might be your last pick because normally on the last day of the season you do a Coach Calvin's Corner Ultimate 11. So I think this is your final pick, mate.
I'm still allowed to pick somebody next week, though, no?
All right, you're the boss. You make the rules.
I make the rules around
It's your
here.
corner.
My corner. Yes, indeed it is. An honorary mention for a certain fellow to go in there today. It's Mr. Colby Bishop of Portsmouth. You talked about them a little bit, and I think you're probably going to segue into wanting to speak about them again. He has been fantastic since he's come back into the squad. Of course, out with injury, had surgery, and all of these different things that were going on. The team,
Mr. Bishop,
completely missed him. You're talking about somebody that's a talisman within the side. He scores fantastic goals, all different types, picks up really good goal-scoring positions, but the effect he has on that team, and we talk about mentality, they play completely different when he's out there, and he's been a beacon and a shining light for them, and the fact that Portsmouth have made themselves safe in the Championship is a lot to do with Mr. Colby Bishop. So, yes, welcome to the corner.
Yeah, proper striker, isn't he, Calv? He's got every attribute to really bump his numbers up next season. You know, Portsmouth are staying in the Championship, and with him leading the line, you feel like they could be a real force next year.
Yes, certainly so. 28 years of age. I'm going to put my neck out there and say, I think he's still got another big move in him. I think the season he's had this season and the impact, I'm sure there are some, high Championship teams, if not some lower down Premier League teams that might be thinking he could be the missing piece, bringing him in, especially as a second striker, someone to bring you on that knows where the goal is. He really does have a fantastic understanding and natural ability to take up goal scoring positions, and I think that's a rarity in today's football for certain. And he's back to play. His back to goal play rather is really good as well. It's exceptional. Yeah. So we shall see.
Do you think his off the field issues, health issues, coming back from injury, do you think that stuff has sort of given him the mental fortitude as well and the inspiration to have a really strong end to this season? Because he's looked like a handful and a half, Calv.
Definitely. There's no more motivation for a player, even anything in life really, is when it's been taken away from you.
Yeah.
And I think for him, it's been that. He's had a career, he's been decent, everybody's sort of raved about him. Then it's been snatched from him, almost taken completely from him. And he's worked his way back. Now it feels different, it tastes sweeter. And he's playing in that fashion. He really does look like he's got the bit between his teeth at the moment for them.
Okay, Colby Bishop into the corner. Calvin makes the rules, apparently. So one more pick next week. How about what we do in the first half of next week's show? You have your final pick. In the second half, we'll have Coach Calvin's Corner Ultimate 11. Sound good?
Fair dues.
Okay. How is the squad looking? Shaping up all right?
Yeah, it looks all right. It looks good. I can't lie. It looks quite healthy.
Okay, next week, lock in for Coach Calvin's Corner. Ultimate 11, a big goal in the Championship to tell you about. Could be huge as well because the door is open now for that 6th playoff spot. And Millwall fancy it, they're 1-0 up against Swansea. George Saville with the opening goal. And that moves them level on points with Coventry. Middlesbrough, they're still stinking out a 0-0 draw, so they're on 64 points. If Middlesbrough win, we'd have 3 teams on 66 points going into the final day of the season.
And don't Borough play Coventry as well?
They do indeed. They do indeed. Next week.
I'm bringing the popcorn, lads.
Millwall fans must be happy. Josh?
Well, yeah, slightly nervous as well. Ben says, don't panic, please. See this through. Another fan saying, a well-worked set piece. Alex Neil is a wizard, and one of those teams that they could play if they do get into the playoffs, and has certainly been in and around there for a long time, is Sunderland. They are currently losing 1-0 to Oxford. I feel like the last 3 shows we've seen this sort of deterioration from the fan base of the Black Cats because they secured a playoff place so early on. JC says this is what happens when you rest players instead of getting momentum before the playoffs. We've looked rubbish for weeks now. To be fair, Labris has put out a stronger team today, but Jack says we've got our best 11 out and we can't even beat Oxford. Call it off. Colin says wow, and this is our best side. Momentum well and truly lost. And Dobson says, I really hope this is some Labris master plan to make us the worst team in the league so everyone underestimates us in the playoffs. Well, if you're a Black Cats fan, please get in contact. Hashtag BBC Football, hashtag BBC EFL, and let us know what you think.
I mean, going into the playoffs, Carl, how much does it mess you up if you're Sunderland in this weird kind of... We've known for probably a month or 2 now they're going to end up in the playoffs, and they've just been coasting in. Or if you're in Sheffield United's place where you've been going for automatic, and now you've got this weird kind of 2 weeks of just limping towards the end of the season. You look at Millwall, who will come in flying if they were to get in.
I think the playoffs are very unique. They are their own entity. They are literally, one-off games. I don't think the form we've seen throughout history, the form really makes much of a difference coming in because you're playing 2 games that are like cup games, I guess. So I want to think that Sunderland can shake this off going into the playoffs. They've not been great leading in, but I think when you get into those moments, that's where you really see the character. I talk again about mental fortitude and understanding of the game. You're going to see people stand up and really relish the moment to try and put Sunderland on their back.
Yeah, and Sunderland as well, their home form. The Stadium of Light is such a brilliant ground, such a great supposed atmosphere, but you see the teams that have won there in recent times. Swansea went and won there. Blackburn last time out went and won there. They're losing at home again today. Cal, would any team fear them really? Sheffield United, Bristol City, Coventry, Millwall, Middlesbrough, would they have any fear going against this Sunderland side?
Yeah, I think there's no fear there. As you mentioned, it's no fortress. The Stadium are like these days, especially towards the back end of this season. It's been like a small caravan, I guess, instead of a fortress. They haven't really struck fear into anyone. But like the fan just mentioned there, Josh just said, it's not going to be a plan, but it can work in your favour. It certainly can. When teams underestimate you, turn up, think, right, we just need to do half a job against Sunderland today and we'll see them off. And you're a different beast because it's the playoffs, there's more at stake, and you turn up and shock people. So being an underdog going into the playoffs isn't always a bad thing.
Is it almost like a mini tournament, Cal? You know how some teams, if you look at the Euros or the World Cup on the biggest stage, obviously, group stages can be a bit of a dud. You're just about getting through and then bam, it gets to the knockout games and you're fully laser focused.
Yeah, it's certainly that. I think I've been in the playoffs a few times and getting there, you look at your past results against these teams and think, oh, well, we've beat these guys both times we've played them this season. They weren't very good. They didn't like this, whatever. And then you get into the playoffs and it's a complete different atmosphere. Everything, the environment's different, the pressure's different. And then that's when, as I mentioned before, the game's managed by your mind and your head. And I think some players can't deal with that. The problem that Sunderland have is they've got a very young team. and it could go one of two ways for them. They could crumble under the pressure, or they could all see it as the big occasion. No one else is playing football other than the teams that are in playoffs at this point. Everyone's looking at us. Let's be honest, once the season finishes and the playoffs start, the championship is going to be the biggest one of them all. So Sunderland will be under the spotlight, and that could bring the best out of some of those young players.
Yes, of course, championship playoff place is still up for grabs. Sunderland confirmed a place, Sheffield United as well. Bristol City will confirm their playoff place if they beat Leeds on Monday, but that 6th spot is the one really up for grabs, isn't it? Coventry currently have it, but Millwall winning today, hot on their tails, level on points, and then Middlesbrough, if they can get a win today as well. 3 teams on 66 points going into the final day. Very tasty stuff in the Championship. Let's go through all the scores then across the leagues as we approach half-time, starting in the Premier League, where Brighton are 1-0 up against West Ham. Chelsea beat Everton by the same scoreline earlier today. Newcastle 0, Ipswich 0, but Ipswich have it all to do at the Stadium of Light. They are down to 10 men in that game, and a defeat today would mean Ipswich are back down in the Championship, which is all but confirmed anyway. But it was Ben Johnson who was sent off for a second yellow card in that game, 37th minute in 0-0. Ipswich potentially returning to the EFL today. The other game, Southampton 1-0 up against Fulham. Wolves 1-0 up against relegated Leicester. Into the Championship then. Earlier today, Luton beat Coventry 1-0. QPR lost 5-0 at home against promoted Burnley, potential champions Burnley as well. They sit top of the Championship after that one. It's goalless between Blackburn and Watford. Cardiff versus West Brom is goalless as well. So is Hull versus Derby. Middlesbrough versus Norwich. Millwall versus Swansea does have a goal though. Millwall with a 1-0 lead. Oxford United leads Sunderland by the same scoreline. Preston 0, Plymouth 1. Sheffield Wednesday versus Portsmouth is a game with 2 goals. It's one apiece in that one. Simon Mahon, take us through League One.
Yeah, we've had a big goal in the last few minutes. Eric Ring for Lincoln doubling their lead away at Stockport. Stockport may well be falling at the final hurdle in their push for promotion. Shrewsbury are 1-0 up away at Barnsley. It's goalless between Burton and Cambridge. Russian Hepburn Murphy has got a massive goal for Crawley in their efforts to stay up. They're now 1-0 up at home against Northampton. Exeter have managed to get an equaliser, so it's 1-1 between them and Huddersfield. We've got also a goal. Chris Farino Joseph scored for Bolton to make it 1-1 between Peterborough and Bolton. Wigan 1-0 up at Blackpool.
Into League 2, Barrow are leading Bromley, 1-0. It's Ben Whitfield with the goal in that game. Cheltenham and Carlisle is 1 apiece, but I might have news coming from that game shortly. Chesterfield are 1-0 up at home against Morecambe. The game between Fleetwood and Newport is currently goalless and has been interrupted as well. We'll get Josh across there to find out what's going on in that game. Gillingham and Swindon is goalless, so too is MK Dons and Grimsby. Salford off to a fantastic start in the first half at the Peninsula. They are 3-0 up at home against Colchester. Tranmere are beating Crewe 1-0, and in my game of the day, Henry, Walsall 0, Accrington 1. Ben Woods with the goal. You, Henry, shall not pass.
Easy now. Josh, tell us what's going on in that Fleetwood game.
Yeah, so play has resumed now, but it did stop on the 37th minute as there was a medical emergency in the memorial stand. The game was stopped by the referee until they had further details, and it is just kicked off again. So it's 40th minute, Fleetwood taking on Newport, currently 0-0.
Nice one, Josh. Okay, half times are hitting across the EFL. A few to bring you in the Premier League. Brighton lead West Ham 1-0 at half time. Southampton lead Fulham by the same scoreline at the break. It's goalless between Cardiff and West Brom at half time. Middlesbrough can't find a way through Norwich as it stands 0-0. Middlesbrough really need to capitalise on Coventry's loss earlier today if they want to get into those playoff spots next week. Oxford United lead Sunderland at the break. Millwall lead Swansea as well. Both games 1-0 to the home side. Sheffield Wednesday versus Portsmouth is 1-1 at half time, and Plymouth look like they're going to go into half time with a vital 1-0 away lead over Preston. They could really do with another goal, couldn't they, Cav? You want that cushion.
Certainly so. You do need that cushion, especially at this stage of the game as well. It changes that half-time team talk, certainly.
It does. Derby currently 0-0 in their game against Hull. Today, that would mean that Hull jump up to 19th. Preston actually drop down to 20th. Luton just on the cusp of the bottom three, but Derby would stay in the bottom three in 22nd place. Plymouth would be off the bottom spot with Cardiff drawing 0-0 as it stands against West Brom. Cardiff would be the bottom side today at the end of play. If everything stays the way it will, but it won't, because this is Total Sports Squad Goals. This is the EFL and it is constantly changing. We'll go to League One. Any half-times there, Simon?
Oh, we've had a heap of half-times, actually. It's half-time between Shrewsbury and Barnsley. Shrewsbury 1-0 up away at Barnsley. Crawley 1-0 up at home against Northampton. Exeter Huddersfield 1-1. Stockport losing 2-0 at home against Lincoln. And 1-0 for Wigan at home against Blackpool. They're all half-time scores.
Calv, any half-times in League Two?
Got a few going into half-time in League Two. Just waiting for this to update. Moving quite slowly. The game between Barrow and Bromley. Barrow are 1-0 in that one. It's gone into half-time. Gillingham and Swindon is also goalless. That's gone into half-time. So too is MK Dons and Grimsby.
Okay, we'll stay in League Two and get some Carlisle fan reaction, Josh.
Dan asking to get the players their P45s already. Very harsh. Lee saying the scoreline is shock horror, car crash of the season, no painting over it. And Jack says, please don't drag this out to the last week, just send us down. Feels like a case of inevitability amongst the fan base there.
Yes, it was Ashley Hay with the second goal for Cheltenham in that one. It's Cheltenham 2-1 up at home against Carlisle. Carlisle, of course, were 1-0 up. A Matt Dennis early goal. Cheltenham responded. It has just gone into half-time in that fixture.
Yeah, I saw an article this week on BBC Sport from Adam Lanigan. He covers sport in the North East and Cumbria, and the article was titled Reverse Wrexham, Carlisle's US dream goes sour. Couldn't be more different, really, to Wrexham's US ownership. 3 managers this season, Calv, for Carlisle: Paul Simpson, Mike Williamson and Mark Hughes. Signed 26 players between them, and they've used 42 in this League Two season. Is that just the tip of the iceberg of the problems up at Carlisle?
It seems there's more going on there than meets the eye. You're talking about the amount of players that have been turned over, the managers as well. Your team can't gain any kind of traction or consistency with that much change going on in a dressing room. Football is a lot about understanding. You've got 11 guys out there. They need to be able to anticipate their teammates' movements as well as the opponents. And if you don't know someone, we talk about chemistry and relationships, it makes it all more difficult. And Carlisle have had a lot of change this season.
You do wonder what they might have done if Mark Hughes had come in a little bit earlier. They've lost so many games that they did before he came in. Actually, since winning the playoff final last season, 2 seasons ago, Carlisle have lost 53 of their 90 league games, which it's just not good enough. Is it, Cal?
No, not at all. Not at all. They've been in free fall since the start of the season. You saw them down there thinking that surely they would turn it around eventually. You're seeing a bit of a response under Mark Hughes, like you mentioned. If he'd come in earlier, maybe they could be in a different position. But
just rubbish with fans, isn't it? Just like 2 years of watching your team lose every week.
Yeah, it's not ideal at all.
And goals, Calv, lack of them. I think it says a lot when you're centre back. Captain Sam Lavelle, he's the joint top scorer with 4 goals.
Well, they've had this issue for a long time. It hasn't really been rectified, and I think I touched on it earlier on this season when Jacob Mellish, John Mellish, went to Wigan. He was a midfield goal scorer for Carlisle, somebody that popped up for them season in, season out and added to their goal tally and got them out a lot of problems. Once he left, you thought, where is the clutch player going to come from? Who's going to stand up and become that new guy? And nobody stepped into his shoes, and now you're seeing the sort of the fruits of that. They're really struggling to score goals, and they find themselves right down the bottom.
Well, Carlisle will be relegated today if they lose, if they draw and Tranmere avoid defeat, or if they win and Tranmere win and Accrington avoid defeat. Today could be the day we see Carlisle go down. But I think that'll do for the first half here on Total Sports Squad Goals. Okay, we'll go through all the scores as they stand at half-time. Starting in the Premier League early today, Chelsea beats Everton 1-0. Brighton beat West Ham 1-0. They are beating West Ham 1-0. I'm sorry, that is into the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Newcastle are 1-0 up now against Ipswich and sending the Tractor Boys back down into the EFL as it stands. Southampton are beating Fulham by 1-0 and Wolves 1-0 up against Leicester. All the home teams 1-0 up in the Premier League. Into the Championship, Luton are 1-0 up. Sorry, they beat Coventry. I'm getting confused with the 12:30s and me 3 o'clocks. Luton beat Coventry earlier today, 1-0. QPR lost 5-0 at home against Burnley. Then into the 3 o'clock kickoffs where at half-time it is Blackburn 0, Watford 0. Cardiff are goalless in their game against West Brom. It is goalless as well between Hull and Derby. Same between Middlesbrough and Norwich. Millwall are 1-0 up against Swansea though. Oxford United 1-0 up against Sunderland. Preston losing at home to Plymouth 1-0, and it's 1-1 between Sheffield Wednesday and Portsmouth. Simon Mahon, take us through League One.
Being in London confuses the best of us, mates. Don't be blaming yourself.
I don't fit here.
I'm just glad Ben's up here. If it wasn't for him, me, Calvin and producer Andy, comb salesman in Greater Manchester, could be going out of business this weekend. Amongst the games that we've had, Shrewsbury are 1-0 up away at Barnsley. They are in the 10th minute of added time between Burton and Cambridge United. Goalless there, but 2 red cards, one for both sides. Crawley are 1-0 up at home against Northampton. Exeter Huddersfield is 1-1 between Peterborough and Bolton. Lincoln winning 2-0 away at Stockport, and Wigan 1-0 up at home against Blackpool.
Yeah, as you mentioned, somebody's missing a miracle hair tonic salesman is what you need outside the BBC for us three. Into the League 2, the game between Barrow and Bromley. Barrow beating them 1-0. Cheltenham are 2-1 up, as we mentioned, at home against Carlisle. Chesterfield beating Morecambe 1-0. Fleetwood and Newport is goalless. That game has resumed and got underway. We send our wishes to whoever had that medical issue in the crowd during that game. Gillingham and Swindon is goalless. MK Dons and Grimsby, no goals between those two. Salford are 3-0 up at home against Colchester, and Tranmere are 1-0 up at home against Crewe. Walsall, no wins in 12 and still no win today by the looks of things. Currently losing 1-0 at home against Accrington. Of course, you are listening to Total Sports Squad Goals. We've got plenty more to come from the EFL and Mr. Ben Ebson with the EFL Roundup after this.
On Radio 4, the more you listen, the more you see.
Confused about what's good for your health? Struggling to know what works and what's just snake oil? I'm Dr. Chris. And I'm Dr. Zant. And we prescribe a weekly dose of our new podcast, What's Up Docs. Side effects may include discovering what's really best for your health and well-being, understanding scientific breakthroughs, and laughter. Now that's good medicine. What's Up Docs? Listen now on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds.
Total Sport Squad Goals on BBC England.
Yes, half-time here on Total Sport Squad Goals, which means Ben Ibsen is back in the studio to talk us through those early kickoffs today. Ben, what's been happening?
A lot has been happening. I mean, we spoke so much about permutations before the 3 o'clock kickoffs began, about all the early kickoffs, and I think none other than the game between Luton and Coventry, a must-win for both of those teams at both ends of the table in the Championship. Not an ideal start for Frank Lampard's side, going down to 10 men with 80 minutes still to play. Undoubtedly a golden opportunity for Luton, but they couldn't take advantage in that first half. 68 minutes, Liam Walsh was shown red, and just when everything was looking dark and gloomy at Kenilworth Road, up stepped Shandon Baptiste in the 90th minute of the match to claim all 3 points for the Hatters, and after the game, he even talked us through it.
A moment of just two players thinking two different things, and I think I anticipated where the ball was going to land, and luckily I just got onto it, and I saw the open goal, and the defender helped me out a little bit, but glad to just get the goal and get the 3 points.
Well, he was getting back, wasn't he? It must have been an agonising watch, because you say you've got to go first time before people can get back, and they nearly did. Yeah, no,
exactly, and I think he nearly got there, but as I said, I'm just lucky he put in the back of the net for me, and
The defeat for Coventry could see them drop out of the playoff places at the end of the day. That's all dependent on the game between Middlesbrough and Norwich. Coventry manager Frank Lampard was disappointed with the result.
Frank, football can be heartbreaking, but your players gave everything today, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely everything. Dug in 10 men for a long, long time. I know it levelled out, but the effort that they put in from a team that really go direct, get it wide, cross it a lot, defend the box. When you're man down, it's a long, long afternoon, and the lads' spirit was brilliant. That's why it's so disappointing to lose in the end.
Elsewhere in the Championship, Burnley doing what they've done all season away from home. After securing promotion against Sheffield United, a win would put them one step closer to the title. It was a quick start to the game. Josh McCullen opened the scoring within 10 minutes. Zian Fleming grabbed his 10th and 11th goal of the season before Jeremy Sarmiento made it 4 and then 5-0 in the second half. Scott Parker was pleased his team kept their high standards.
Classy performance. I thought we was excellent today all round. Our sheer quality of what we played at, our detail, structurally, everything we prepped for this game. I mean, the boys just absolutely nailed it to a T, and we were pretty ruthless, really. And I asked us to be ruthless today. It's been a busy week, one which was full early in the week of real excitement and joy, maybe a little bit relief as well. And quickly as that was there, we needed to quickly switch mindset and become this ruthless animal that we've been for large parts this year.
Yeah, great win for Burnley. Just putting the cherry on top of the cake, the promotion cake, if you like, for Scott Parker's side. But for Luton, Calv, as a former Hattie yourself, how huge is that victory?
Hats off. That's what that means. Oh, it's a massive victory. Honestly, it's been a frustrating season for them. I've watched them play underwhelming football, to say the least, but you want them to still be a championship side come the back end of the season, and these last 3 results have been fantastic, and I think Bloomfield has put himself in good stead to still be there next season and see if they can get this over the line first and foremost, and grow and learn more from themselves of how badly they've performed this season. I think it could push them on.
Okay, Ben, let's move into League One.
Yeah, League One, Reading have beaten Bristol Rovers by 2-0. Lewis Wing and Kem Campbell on the score sheet for the visitors. 3 points puts them to within touching distance of the playoffs. However, another defeat for Bristol Rovers sees them drop into the dreaded relegation places with 1 game left to save their season. At the top of the table, Wycombe Wanderers had the opportunity to jump back into that automatic promotion spot, although Leyton Orient had different ideas. A 1-0 victory for the O's keeps their promotion dreams alive. Now, there was a lot of eyes on the early kickoffs in League 2, 4 of the top 5 all playing against each other. Top of the table, Doncaster Rovers secured promotion with a 2-0 victory over Bradford, who in turn dropped down to 3rd place. Port Vale go 5 points clear in 2nd with a 2-0 victory over Wimbledon. And in the game that kicked off at 1 o'clock, Notts County earned their first win in 5 matches and are now well into those playoff places after winning away at Harrogate Town by 3-1.
Nice one, Ben. Big results there all over the shop. But what about last night, in case anyone missed it?
So last night, Sheffield United bounced back from their Easter Monday defeat to Burnley, showing that they're prepared to gain promotion the hard way in the Championship after a 2-0 victory to Stoke City. Sam McCullen's header opened the scoring on 38 minutes, and despite goal-scoring opportunities for Stoke, it was Andre Brooks, a minute after coming on the bench, who arrived late at the back post to double the lead for the Blates, and head coach Chris Wilder is not taking his foot off the gas.
We've got an obligation that we get paid to win football games, and recently we haven't won any or as many as we wanted to win. So we've got an obligation to everybody. When you sign that contract, when you put that shirt on, you've got to go and win. So I've not took my foot off the gas, and the players haven't. And I told them that these next 2 games is not a time to breathe and take a backward step. It's time to step on it, and we'll step on it next week as well.
And with the way results are going today, Stoke City could find themselves dropping to within touching distance of the relegation zone. Wow. With just 1 game remaining, head coach Matt Robbins knows it's still very much in their own hands.
It's horrific, it's brutal getting beaten in any shape, any way, shape or form. But to get beaten like we did on Monday was really not pleasant. But it can happen. And again, that wasn't for the lack of trying. That was just the sheer quality that they had and the speed that they played with. And tonight, we did much better, but with the same outcome. So we go in. Look, it's still in our hands. We've got one more game to play, and we've got to go and win that.
Lovely stuff. Nice one, Ben. We'll speak to you again after 5.
Sounds good. See you soon.
All right, then. Let's get into the second half here on Total Sport Squad Goals. Yes, just gone 4 o'clock, which means it's time for us to kick off the second half here on Total Sport Squad Goals. And if you missed the first, we're going to bring you back up to speed with some half-time headlines. Starting with me in the Championship. The Lions roar for a playoff push. Saville with a savage goal to give Millwall's men a place away from the playoffs. Let's see if they can hang on to that lead today. Let's go from the Championship to League One with Simon Mahon.
Yeah, at the top, Wycombe's loss earlier made the door slightly ajar for Stockport, but they are not taking advantage. They are 2-0 down at home against Lincoln. Almost certainly going to be too late down the bottom for Crawley, but they are 1-0 up at home against Northampton. But most impressively of all, in the Burton versus Cambridge game, we had 10 minutes of added time. We've had more red cards than goals in that one. Loft and McKiernan, both of them securing a chance to listen to Squad Goals next week and find out who's in Calvin's corner, as they both got sent off.
Into League Two, the Saddlers continued their bad form. It could be 13 without a win today. They're currently losing 1-0 at home against Accrington, and the Ammies look like they might be finally in the playoffs. Salford are 3-0 up at home against Colchester and looking as though they're going to secure that playoff spot.
Nice one, Calv. Locked in on the socials today. The glue that connects us to you is Mr. Josh Shreve.
Yes, and is it too little too late for Plymouth as they lead at Preston? Matthew says, typical to do that when we're basically already relegated. This will probably be our best result of the season. And Carlisle crash of the season. They're 2-1 down to Cheltenham, and Lee says, shock horror, car crash of the season. There's no painting over it.
There you go. Brutal stuff today. Permutations all over the place here on Total Sport Squad Goals. Let's get into the second half right now. Do you want a little quiz question to kick you off?
Love a quiz question. I'm all about a quiz question.
If we must.
Okay, what connects John Terry, Stephen Sidwell, Leonardo Bonucci, and Danny Mills?
Whew.
What connects those 4 footballers?
Give us them again, one more time.
Okay, quiz question for you to kick off the second half on Total Sport Squad Goals. What connects these 4 former footballers? John Terry, Stephen Sidwell, Leonardo Bonucci, and Danny Mills.
And is it also EFL related?
No.
No.
Bonucci and...
Did they play in the same... did they all play in...
They all play football.
They all play football. They all play football, yeah.
That is right.
All in the 2006 World Cup squads?
No.
I don't know.
Josh?
I was going to say, I forgot that Steve Sidwell was in the 2006 World Cup squad.
Yeah, he played a bit for England,
Go on,
I'm
Henry.
sure.
I know what it is.
They are all running the London Marathon tomorrow.
Who cares?
Well, alongside Wiltshire.
Evidently not you guys.
How were we supposed to know that?
I can't wait to find out how many...
Do your research.
I actually knew JT was running that. I'd read that somewhere.
Yeah. Do your due diligence, Calvin
how many
Andrew.
former footballers you beat tomorrow.
Henry, that's not important to me at the moment.
Okay, well, it's got a tenuous link to the EFL because 2 managers in action today are also running the London Marathon tomorrow. Championship managers as well. Gary Rowett, Oxford boss, who will be quite happy because his Oxford side are now 2-0 up against Sunderland. So he'll have a big fat smile on his face running the marathon tomorrow. And Norwich boss for the season, what is left of it, Jack Wilshere is in the dugout for the next 2 games for Norwich. He is running it as well, and they are currently holding Middlesbrough to a 0-0 draw which could have big permutations. Middlesbrough want to win that game. They want to be within a shout of the playoffs. So, you see, it did have a link. Okay. It did have a link to what we're doing here today.
At this end of the season.
And to be fair, I should take that back because I'm sure they're probably all running for really good causes as well. So I retract that statement that who cares? A lot of people care.
Okay.
There you go.
Good save. And I'm going to see how many of them I can smoke out there tomorrow.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Well, Henry, talking about smoking, fantastic start in League Two. Barrow were 1-0 up in the first half, but Bromley have responded, and you never guess who's scored.
Cheeky goal!
Michael Cheek.
Who else?
23rd of the season, 15 minutes in, and Bromley are going well. One apiece in this one, but a good first season, I think, for them under their belt in League Two, I'd say.
Yeah, we've had an early goal in League One as well. Jaden Fevrier giving a goal for Stockport. They got one back now. They're still 2-1 down at home against Lincoln. I saw a thing the other day where Dave Challoner in his last 6 or 7 years basically always either won promotion or got into the playoffs, and it looks like it will be the playoffs again for Stockport this year.
Some going.
You wouldn't want to play him.
Serial winner.
Yeah.
I wonder if he has it with milk.
What is cereal?
It's a tough crowd. Don't worry about it.
That one.
Was it?
Well, from a serial winner to a serial scorer, Michael Cheek then, will he still be at Bromley next season, Cal? Because he has proven himself to now be a seasoned EFL scorer.
I think he can go up another level, personally. I do. I think his movement and his understanding of the game will allow him to play at a League One level and still be able to be as prolific as he has been in League Two. But, it's all about opinions. It's all about other teams. Because bearing in mind, Bromley don't give him an awful lot to go off. He does score a lot of penalties, mind. But, I think he's got more in the tank, certainly.
Maturing like a fine cheese, isn't he? Your lad from earlier will be writing chants about him.
I wonder if his legs are as cheesy as some of the comments on this show today from the presenting team.
You two need to behave yourself today.
Should we move on and hear from the fans?
Yeah.
We can fade each other down. Let's go to Watford, because there has been a goal in the game against Blackburn. Watford playing away at Blackburn, and it has come from Matty Pollock with the goal. Fans here saying we're going to miss Loser's deliveries if he leaves us this season. He's the only one who can put a ball in. Kurt says he's one of our best players this season. Come on, we're getting top 10. And Archie says that man could head a brick.
Not recommended, of course.
Let's find out.
No, don't try that at home. Nice one. Let's get into this then and give you all the scores as they stand at the start of this second half in the Premier League. Brighton 1, West Ham 1. They've got one back. West Ham, it is Mohamed Kudus with the goal for the Hammers to draw them level. Elsewhere in the Premier League, Newcastle lead Ipswich 1-0. Southampton are 1-0 up against Fulham, and Wolves are 1-0 up against Leicester. Then into the 3:00 kickoffs, where Watford have taken the lead away at Blackburn in my game of the day, breaking the deadlock. Matthew Pollock with that goal. Where's my flowers, Calv? Come on, man.
There you go, mate.
Thank you. Cardiff 0, West Brom 0. Josh Shreve's game of the day. Hull 0, Derby 0. Calvin Andrews' game of the day. No, that's not how it works. You only get the sound if you get a goal.
Okay.
Take those back.
No, I'm not doing this.
No,
not doing all
You're in
that.
trouble, big man.
I know.
Middlesbrough 0, Norwich 0. Millwall are 1-0 up against Swansea. Oxford United 2-0 up now against Sunderland. Preston 0, Plymouth 1. And Sheffield Wednesday versus Portsmouth is 1 apiece. Simon Mahon, the 3:00 in League One.
Yeah, so Shrewsbury still 1-0 up away at Barnsley. Goalless between Burton and Cambridge. Crawley 1-0 up at home against Northampton. Peterborough Bolton is 1-1. Lincoln 2-1 up away at Stockport. It's 1-0 to Wigan at home against Blackpool. And we've had a goal in the last few moments. Huddersfield have gone 2-1 up now away at Exeter. It's been a horrendous end to the season for Huddersfield, but they may well be able to get a consolation win here. 54 minutes in, Exeter 1, Huddersfield 2.
into League Two. Barrow are 2-1 up at home against Bromley. We just mentioned Michael Cheek scoring an equaliser, but Isaac Fletcher had other ideas for Barrow and has given them the advantage once again. Cheltenham are still 2-1 up at home against Carlisle. Chesterfield are 1-0 up against Morecambe. Fleetwood and Newport is goalless, so too is Gillingham and Swindon. No goals between MK Dons and Grimsby. Salford still 3-0 up at home against Colchester. Could be a massive win for them today, keeping their playoff hopes alive. Tranmere are 1-0 up against Crewe, distancing themselves from the relegation zone, and Walsall are trailing 1-0 against Accrington.
Okay, let's go back to the Championship and hear from some Cardiff City fans, Josh.
My game of the day, taking on West Brom with their new manager at the moment, James Morrison, in charge of the Baggies. Cardiff, another new manager at the moment in Aaron Ramsey. It's all change, isn't it, in this game? But there's no change on the scoreline, 0-0, and there's no change in Cardiff's place in the table. One fan says, we're going down with a whimper. We're supposed to think these players care. Get on with it. Ron says, at least try and finish third bottom for some pride. But predictably, Swansea fans quite enjoying it at the moment. One here saying, looking like 45 minutes till relegation and you're going down. So hashtag BBC Football, hashtag BBC EFL if you want your say on today's action.
Yeah, Cardiff rooted to the bottom of the Championship as it stands. Plymouth winning would mean they're 2 points ahead of them in 23rd place. Cardiff, though, I mean, they've been circling the plug hole, haven't they, of the second tier for much of the season, for much of maybe the past couple of seasons. Calv, has this been on the cards for Cardiff for a while?
Yeah, I think you're spot on with what you said. They've been in bad form for a while now. They've season by season managed to struggle and stay in the league, but they haven't rectified any of the issues they had 3 seasons ago. So it's condemning that the fact that they're gonna probably go down by the looks of things, and with a whimper by the sounds of what Josh is saying, the fans are saying there.
Yep, really struggling today, Cardiff City, but plenty of time to turn it around. We'll see if they can do that. It's a little bit weird, this, because the awards, the EFL awards, the nominees have been announced, but surely you kind of got to wait till the end of the season before you get your real award winners, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
They always jump the gun with
they
stuff
do this,
like
don't
that.
they?
Is that, I mean, Calv, you'll know this more than anyone. Is that to do with, because once the season finishes, you have such a short pre-season that you want to get off on your holiday or really switch off from it? Is that why? 'Cause
yeah,
the final game's done and it's like everyone's gone off.
Yeah, nobody really wants to finish the final game of the season then have to go to an award ceremony and whatnot afterwards.
Oh God, it's such a hard life, isn't it? Playing football and then I've got to go to this awards ceremony.
It's a long season. You wanted to switch off completely once the season's done, especially if you've been promoted. You want to go and celebrate and enjoy yourself. If you've been relegated, you've got things to sort out and whatnot as well. So I guess it is one of those reasons where they keep everything within the sort of parameters of the season rather than outside of them, because you don't want to have a award ceremony that you have to go to when you're still trying to now prepare for playoffs as well. Remember, people have still got big weeks coming up. They can't be going out late at night and doing all of that kind of stuff that comes with the award ceremony. So yeah, it's just it's a difficult one because, like you mentioned, Henry, it is a bit ill-timed, but
Is it really noticeable the sort of teams have got nothing to play for and then their players are just getting on? Is it free bar at these things?
I haven't been to a award ceremony for a while, but the last time I was there, it was not a free bar. No.
Keep you on the straight and narrow. Well, let's have a look at who's been nominated then. While there's a little bit of a lack of goals across the EFL. Let's have a look in the Championship. Not much imagination from whoever did the nominees. They've just picked the top 4 managers in the Championship. So you've got Daniel Farke, Leeds coach, Burnley, Scott Parker, Chris Wilder for the Blades, and then Regis Labrie for Sunderland. Out of those 4, I mean, Kieran McKenna got it last time. He didn't win the league, did he? But he did an amazing job getting Ipswich promoted from League One to the Championship and then getting promoted again. That's probably why he clinched it. But who would you give it to, Calv, out of that top 4? I'm thinking you might have a little soft spot for Mr. Scott Parker.
For me personally, yeah. I think I like the way he talks. I like the way his approach to the game. I think the players really have gelled and bonded under his tenure there, and they look a different animal as well. And I think the way in which he approached the game, his sort of tactics at Burnley, I know people might say it's boring, but I think that's something that could stand them in good stead for winning, not winning, but they've already probably win the league, and then sustain themselves in the Premier League next season. I think he's the right man for the job. He's taken that team that were very expansive in how they were left for him and made them a different beast. And I think 97 points, possibly 100 points in the Championship is good going for him.
I was going to say as well,
I'm very fond of him. I'm very fond of him. I like him as a manager.
Calv, is it how he's adapted post sort of Vincent Kompany and that reign of things as well that has impressed people?
Yeah, I think that team that Vincent Kompany built was expansive. We saw what happened to them in the Premier League playing that type of football, very free-flowing and trying to play ultimate football out from the back and whatnot. Scott Parker's gone in there and put his own identity on it. And I think, as you've mentioned, Josh, that's very brave in this day and age. People now are automatically labelling it as boring, but he's not conforming to the whole ultimate football type of playing football. He sees it as how I would approach it. There's opportunities and time to keep the ball on the floor and try and draw your team out onto a press. But if you can't play through it, you go over the top. And they play a little bit of a mixture of direct and short football, which has brought them success. Of course, defensively balanced as well. They've got that bias towards defending and keeping clean sheets. And I think they're a very good team.
It does feel unlikely that Scott Parker will end up as the next Bayern Munich manager, though, doesn't it?
Hey, you know what? Stranger things have literally happened.
Should we be surprised, though, that it's the top 4 managers that are nominated for the award? Because in that league, in the Championship, as with the whole of the EFL, so many managers don't last a season. So many don't last half a season. So actually, you could look at what Muslic's done at Plymouth after what Rooney didn't do and go, he's done pretty well. But in the grand scheme of things, he's probably not going to be nominated.
For me, I just think, there's a few managers that maybe are worth a shout. Gary Rowett, the job he's done going in at Oxford when they were all but down. With
John Massinho.
John Massinho
comfortably keeping Portsmouth up.
I was just going to go there as well, because Massinho, Portsmouth, if you look at the bottom of the Championship, if you look at these bottom sides, Plymouth changed their manager twice, 3 managers this season. Cardiff are the same. Derby are on their second manager. Luton are on their second manager. Preston are on their second manager. So are Hull. So are Stoke. Oxford as well. Portsmouth, they're the ones who haven't changed their manager, and they're the ones who are most comfortable. Cal, they've bucked the trend a little bit, haven't they? And even when they went through a sticky patch, Pompey, they stuck by their man. And I think it's a great lesson for whoever comes up from League One to look at Portsmouth and go, stick with the guy who's got you up here.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But as I mentioned before with Coach Calvin's corner pick, I do think bringing Colby Bishop in has made all the difference. When they were in their sticky patch, he wasn't playing. He was unavailable to be picked. Massinho managed to sort of try and hold down the fort until he got his main guy back. They weren't playing with a recognised centre forward for a long periods of time without Yengi as well. And once they've added that final piece, now you're seeing the performances pick up. I do think Massinho's big credit for having to sort of weather that storm, and as you mentioned, the club sticking by him and understanding the shortcomings and the struggles that he had as a manager, and you're seeing the fruits of it now. Very comfortable indeed.
I mean, obviously his name's not in the mix for any awards, but I think actually the manager in the Championship who is best placed to get a big job is Danny Roll for me. He's kept Wednesday on the straight and narrow now, even though that club is an absolute basket case, and I feel like he's the manager that a lot of clubs above Sheffield Wednesday in the footballing pecking order will be looking at him whenever an opportunity comes up.
Yeah, possibly they could do. He seems like a fashionable choice, doesn't he? Danny Roll, for sure. We'll get into the other nominees, players as well that are up for awards across the EFL this season on penultimate game weekend. We'll get into that after this.
This is what you fell in love with.
Lovely little turn. Shoots right footed.
This is original football.
And it's in! It's a brilliant goal!
On Saturday, it's Crystal Palace.
Sends in the cross, and it's 2 goals in 4 minutes.
Versus Aston Villa.
All his players run to celebrate with those fans.
The FA Cup semi-finals. Watch on iPlayer, listen on BBC Sounds.
Total Sport, Squad Goals.
With Henry Liston, Calvin Andrew and Gabriella Dukes.
On BBC England.
Hey, yeah, the FA Cup is back.
Uh-oh, for good.
For good as well. The semi-final weekend down here in London at Wembley. What do you reckon, guys? Crystal Palace versus Villa, who you backing?
Oh, it's an interesting game, isn't it? I feel like with both those teams, you kind of know what you can get, but it doesn't necessarily mean they'll get the result every week you watch them. I mean, Palace got a good result at Arsenal just. Villa got a good result against Newcastle. Do we feel like Villa are off the back of the Champions League run a little bit knackered?
Personally, I think that if City get to the final, if City beat Nottingham Forest, I think Villa are the only team that could potentially beat them in a final. Personally, I don't know. It would
be quite poetic for Marcus Rashford on loan from Manchester United to score against City as well.
It could be. But I would love to see a Forest Villa final or a Forest Palace final. Just get a new winner in there. Calv, are you going to back your former side today, Crystal Palace?
They've got every chance. I think Aston Villa are a very dangerous side. We've seen the attacking prowess and whatnot, but Crystal Palace play some good off-the-cuff football and pose a threat to anybody on the day. So if they decide to turn up, I do think that they can get a result, yeah.
Simon, you going to stick your neck out?
Look, I think objectively Villa are a better team. On the day, anyone could win, but Emery, I think I would always back Unai Emery in a cup competition. He just has so much experience of getting his teams over the line in these big cup games.
Okay, well, we'll see all the coverage today on the BBC. If you want to watch the FA Cup semi-final later on, kickoff is at 5:30.
Yeah.
Quarter past, I think.
5:15. There you go. So we will cover it as well on Total Sports Squad Goals. We're with you through until 6, so we'll keep you across that game. And we'll keep you across another huge game in League One as well that kicks off later today. Wrexham versus Charlton at 5:30. We'll keep you across that. But let's go through all the leagues then, because I think I just heard Cal. It's kind of sounded like you were sleep talking, Cal.
No, I just said plenty. I said plenty of goals. That's what I said.
I just heard goals. Obviously, I can't see your face,
word,
so I just heard goals. I wasn't sure if it was like a tick or something, but
sometimes,
yeah. Goals. Starting in the Premier League, Brighton versus West Ham is 1-1. Newcastle have doubled their lead over Ipswich, 2-0 ahead now. Dan Burn with the second goal. Ipswich going down as it stands, back down into the Championship. Southampton are beating Fulham by 1-0, and Wolves are 2-0 up against relegated Leicester. Let's go into the Championship now. Okay, Blackburn have equalised against Watford. Todd Cantwell, the goal scorer in my game of the day. Blackburn 1, Watford 1. Cardiff versus West Brom is goalless, as is Hull versus Derby. Middlesbrough versus Norwich as well. No goals there. It has been slightly dry today.
It feels like the Easter stuffing's been knocked out of everyone.
Yeah, Good Friday and Easter Monday were absolutely bonkers. But a little bit quiet today. Millwall 1-0 up against Swansea. Oxford United 2-0 up against Sunderland. Preston losing at home to Plymouth 1-0. And it's 1-1 between Sheffield Wednesday and Portsmouth. Simon Mahon, League One.
Yeah, John Marquez, he's got his second goal of the game in the last couple of minutes for Shrewsbury. They're now 2-0 up away at Conor Hourihan's Barnsley. In the other games, Burton are 1-0 up at home against Cambridge United. Bodvarsson with that goal. That could be a massive goal. That may well be the goal that keeps Burton in League One. Crawley are now 2-0 up at home against Northampton, but they may have their relegation on their cards today. Exeter 2-1 up against Huddersfield. Earlier on I told you Huddersfield had gone 2-1 up against Exeter, but that goal got ruled out, and Exeter then went down the other end and got a goal there. So it's Exeter 2, Huddersfield 1. It's 1-1 between Peterborough and Bolton. Lincoln still 2-1 up away at Stockport, and Wigan winning 1-0 at home against Blackpool.
Into League 2, where Barrow are beating Bromley 2-1. Cheltenham are 2-1 up at home against Carlisle. Chesterfield beating Morecambe 2-1. Fleetwood 1-0 up against Newport. Gillingham and Swindon is 1 apiece. in that fixture. MK Dons and Grimsby is goalless. Salford beating Colchester 4-1. They just have got a goal back. It's Eliza Alandola with the goal in Henry's game of the day. Plenty of goals there. You've definitely gone past me, by the way, which is not ideal.
What drama?
Can't lie. I feel a little bit of rage coming on. Keep it inside, Cal. Tranmere are beating Crewe 1-0. Crewe are down to 10 men. And Walsall 0, Accrington 1. Fleetwood goal, as I mentioned. Fleetwood are beating Newport 1-0. It's Phoenix Patterson with the goal in that one.
I've just been trying to do some quick maths as we were going through the scores there. I think I'm 10-2 up on the day.
No,
what a swing!
So.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's a good swing.
So that would be
a
different.
swing.
Does that? I think it might put you equal.
It might. I think it takes me past the equal.
No, it takes you past.
Way
he was
past
four,
equals.
he was 4 points behind.
I need to get the abacus out to make it official.
Yeah.
He was 4 points. I think you're 2 points in front at
Okay.
So much pressure on choosing those game of the days for next week, isn't it?
Oh yes, big pressure, but it makes diamonds. We thrive off it.
On it.
Yeah, something to think about if you've got like a big run or something tomorrow, isn't it?
Maybe. I've got plenty of time to think about it. Right, let's have a look at what else is going on in the EFL. I did mention about this later game today. That there's a lot of hype around it. There's always hype when Wrexham are involved, but Charlton boss Nathan Jones has sort of added to the hype, making comments about playing Wrexham. He said it's a bumper game. We have to go to the circus and see what we can get. He says that his circus comment about promotion rivals Wrexham has been misunderstood. He said he was a bit misquoted or misunderstood mentioning the word circus. I didn't mean the club or the players or anything like that, because they're a very well-run, excellent club. But it just does add a little bit of extra spice to this one, Calv.
I think so. I think you've got to be careful what you say in the media. I think, Josh, you mentioned this in the week. We were talking about stuff about people coming out in the media and whatnot. I'm from the old school where managers, even players, you keep a lot of the stuff in-house. You say certain things outside. And it's very boring for the media, of course. But you do all of the hard and heavy lifting and hard hitting inside the dressing room. I think it's a difficult one to call on this occasion with him, but he might have got it wrong a little bit with what he said.
Rogue character Nathan Jones, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's ambitious.
I like him.
He's what we talked about earlier on in the season, that he does inspire. And I think Charlton as a team have come on leaps and bounds, as I mentioned before, Henry, and I think we've both watched them over the last few seasons become a better team all round, and they've put themselves in a great spot to try and do some damage.
Yep, they have indeed, but of course, tough game for them against Wrexham today. And Nathan Jones, he's an inspirational character. I'm sure he's got an inspirational speech in his locker, but so do one of Wrexham's owners, Rob McElhenney. A lot of hype this week about his unbelievable speech before the Blackpool game. This was a huge game for Wrexham, a huge win for them in the end as well. But McElhenney went into the dressing room, spoke to the players, and this is the report on that. It was unbelievable. According to Wrexham's George Dobson. He said, the Wigan and Bristol Rovers games, it looked like we were a tad more cagey than we had been. And Rob McElhenney, he went in, he said, there's no pressure whatsoever. Just go back to that 12-year-old boy and play as you would as a kid with your friends. It was really inspirational, motivational speech, and the whole group really bought into it. It is a unique situation at Wrexham, but you've got to love that, Calv, because, I'm sure you felt it when you were a pro. You sometimes forget why you got into the game and the boy that you were when you absolutely loved football, and then suddenly it's your job and there's all this pressure and all this hype around Wrexham and potentially doing something that no team has ever done before. But for someone to just say, look, go out there, play like you did on the pitch as a kid, that's what you want, isn't it?
It's a fantastic thing to say, and as you mentioned, it's nice to come from the ownership and whatnot. But I can guarantee you right now, Phil Parkinson, the manager, would not have been happy with that comment at all. Not at all. Telling the players to just go out, enjoy yourself, play carefree, and he's thinking, we've got things in place to make sure we don't concede today. I don't need my left back popping up in the box thinking he's 12 years old again. So, it's it's a balancing act, but the gesture of what he means, it would mean a lot for one of your owners to come in and encourage you like that, let you know everyone's behind you, and to try and relieve some of that pressure, and for you to go out and enjoy your football, like I talked about. And as you've just mentioned there, when it does become your job, something does change. I think the best players in this beautiful game that we talk about are those guys that still have that youthful sort of exuberance for the game. Your Ronaldinho is always smiling, enjoying himself the way he plays football. These types of guys, embody what it means to a lot of people to become from a kid to become a professional, and to still have that same love and enjoyment for the game of football. And it does get lost with a lot of players.
You can get in trouble for showboating these days, Calv. It's mad.
Yes. How long you got? It's a different game. Let's be completely honest. It's not the same game that I used to play, where those players, maybe not showboating with a sort of a means to it, maybe a step over here to try and wrong foot your defender and stuff like that. That was all celebrated. Whereas, these days, those things are sort of taken out. Nobody wants to sort of put the ball at risk in any type of shape or form. It's all very methodical in the way it's gone about, and I think a bit of the entertainment's come out the game.
I feel like Lee Trundle would have struggled in the systems era.
Yes. Lee Trundle, and a very off-the-cuff player, just did what he wanted, if we're being completely honest, and he's fantastic at it.
Still is doing what he wants. He was on Football Focus today. He's still playing, still banging them in. Josh, Championship fans have been on the blow. What they saying?
Yeah, hashtag BBC Football, hashtag BBC EFL on X if you want to have your say on how your side or other sides are doing today, such as Liam. He's a Watford fan. He says, all I'm asking for is one day where I enjoy supporting Watford. That was after they conceded to Blackburn, making it 1-1. And Zach joins in saying we're overly relaxed, not enough commitment, and it was inevitable. And then Millwall, are they in with an outside chance of reaching the playoffs? Neil has his side. They are currently 1-0 up. Unlucky not to, sorry, it's Alex Neil, isn't it? The manager, not Neil Harris. Too many Neils. Anyway,
he's been there several times.
He's been there, exactly. Unlucky not to be 2-0 up, one fan says. How good is it to have a manager that doesn't sit back at 1-0 but actually tries to kick on? If we concede as a consequence, then fine. I'd rather that than have a second half of hoofball only to concede anyway. And another fan has said, keep pushing. This team are there for the taking. It would be unimaginable if we'd had Fleming up front with Ivanovic today.
Yeah, of course. Zian Fleming on loan at Burnley this season. Strange one, that, Calv. Do you reckon he'll go back there, or is that him done at Millwall?
It's hard to say. Let's be completely honest. We don't know. I think he'll be done at Millwall. I don't think there's another opportunity for him to possibly go back there with the things that have gone on in recent years. But who's to say? Football's done stranger things, as you guys keep telling me.
Indeed. Let's have a look at the Championship. There's been another goal in my game of the day. Blackburn 2-1 up now against Watford. Tyrese Dolan with the goal, the second goal for Blackburn Rovers. But is this push for the playoff places a little bit too late for Blackburn? They are still in with a shout, but it would all depend on different things going their way on the final day. I suppose with Blackburn as well, last season, Calv, they stayed up on the final day, didn't they? There was so much drama. Sammy Schmodix, their top scorer, I think he scored 2 on the final day to keep them up. So the fact that they're even within a shout of the playoffs is maybe progress, but I'm sure if you got a Blackburn fan on the show and asked them if there was progress this season, they'd say no, purely because of everything that's been going on off it.
It's a very different feeling for them. As you mentioned, it's obvious progress from people looking in from the outside, and as you mentioned, I think the fans might feel a little bit different about it. The point of real interest is sort of about the Christmas point, where you're looking at Blackburn thinking this could be the season they actually make it happen, and then they've just sort of inconsistently performed since then. They've shown the best side and very much the worst side within weeks of each other. So it's about them nailing down an understanding of how they want to play football, and approaching it in a way that's sort of manageable for the 11 out there to continuously perform at that level. The thing is that we talk about teams' high presses and going out there to try and squeeze the life out of teams and whatnot, that can be something that can run out of legs towards the back end of the season. You wonder if that's what Blackburn might be suffering with.
Yes, Blackburn, of course, Sammy Schmoddick's there last season. Maybe should have been player of the season. He wasn't. It was Crescencio Somerville?
Crescencio Somerville, yeah.
I mean, he's not really kicked on at all at West Ham, has he?
No, he hasn't. He was the Championship Player of the Season last season. This season, the nominees are James Trafford for Burnley, Daniel James for Leeds, and Gustavo Hamer for Sheffield United. All players near the top of the table. Could we see a goalkeeper win a Player of the Year award? Wouldn't that be something for the Union?
I tell you what, there's never ever going to be a time like it. So that needs to happen. If I'm being completely honest,
yeah,
I can't see a goalkeeper doing the sort of numbers that Trafford's done so far this season and had the performance and influence that he's had on that Burnley team. So we'd love to see him get it.
Well, people say though, oh yeah, but it's who he's got in front of him. I always remember James. Who's the Arsenal keeper with the tash? David Seaman. Everyone said, oh yeah, he's good, but it's because of who he's got in front of him. That's why he gets so many clean sheets. He's so well protected.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's a team game, so anyone's individual performance can be put up to sort of the players around him. I think Burnley do have a very good defensive unit, and I'm certain if you spoke to Trafford, he would put credit on his players in front of him as well. But he's made some astonishing saves this season, things he's had no right to get to. He has done, and you're talking about a team that may be finishing the season with 14 goals conceded. You've got to give the keeper his flowers.
Do you think they would have got promoted with a different keeper?
It's hindsight. I mean, it's tough to say, but I certainly think they would have conceded a lot more goals with a different keeper.
So I'd put it to you, Leeds wouldn't have got promoted without Dan James.
Ooh, it's a tough one. Yeah,
they might have got promoted easier if they had a better keeper.
They would have got promoted if they'd had James Trafford. They would have got promoted easier.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, where are we going, Josh?
There's a big game going on currently in the Championship, which is between Preston and Plymouth. Plymouth have actually scored a second, and the Preston fans are out in full force. One saying there is not a fight in this Preston team at all. They don't care for the club. It's plain to see this squad wouldn't even win 10 games in League One. Another fan saying it's embarrassing, preying on other results, which should not be how it is. Of course, Preston are sort of slowly sleepwalking towards the relegation zone as it happens at the moment. Martin said there is no pride, no heart, no soul. These players are going down in history as the worst team to play in Preston colours, and that team below them, Plymouth, well, they're 2-0 up, but they still could do with making up the goal difference. Tom says we just need 12 more, lads.
Yeah, Preston, they looked so safe at one point, Calv, but terrible form recently. Ever since that FA Cup quarter-final, it seems like their season's fallen off a bit of a cliff, and they're still in contention. They definitely will be. 2-0 down today, losing this one. They'll be in contention to drop on the final day of the season.
It seems that way. We're talking about a team, as you mentioned, that were right at the top half of the Championship at one point. Everyone's, Lily Whites could be a Premier League team next season, and they've just slid off a cliff since then. Performances haven't lived up to what they should have been doing. Inconsistencies again. Talking about exciting teams, Preston for me haven't really thrilled either in the entertainment category. But final game of the season could be interesting for them.
It could indeed, and we'll be across it this time next week, the last match day of the season in the EFL. Goals going in the Premier League to tell you about after this.
It's a sign. What sign?
BBC iPlayer cordially invites you to the wedding of the year.
Come on, Flower Girls!
And maybe bring the kids with you too.
Yeah! I need the toilet. Oh, socks.
Join Bluey for a special extra long episode.
What? Really? Is that allowed?
Yeah, I had to look it up. And a day of celebrations and surprises.
This is the best day of all my life.
All new Bluey, The Sign. Watch on BBC iPlayer.
Total Sport. Squad goals.
With Henry Liston, Calvin Andrew and Gabriella Dukes.
On BBC England.
Yes, goals in the Premier League. Thomas Souček has put West Ham 2-1 up away at Brighton. Elsewhere in the top flight, Newcastle are 3-0 up now against Ipswich. That means that Ipswich are returning to the EFL. That writing has been on the wall for a long time, but confirmed today it will be, with Newcastle winning by such a large margin. Elsewhere, Wolves are beating Leicester 2-0. Leicester, of course, relegated last Sunday. But Josh, the man who's hit the headlines this week, has had a bit of a shocker here.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy has been denied his 199th Leicester goal by the Wolves keeper, Jose Sarr. Just reading Nick's from BBC Sport at the Molineux, his report. And he has said that it was clever from Vardy. He engineered the contact with the goalkeeper to win the spot kick in the first place. And then I've just watched the penalty. He puts it down to the keeper's right, hits it a bit sluggish, and it's an easy save from Jose Sarr. He'll be wanting to hit the 200 before the end of the season, won't he? But the chances are going away.
Yeah, I mean, whatever goal tally he finishes on, what a career he's had at Leicester. Calv rising up through the ranks. Did you ever play against him?
I believe so. He wasn't that good back then, I don't think. So I don't really remember him too much.
Was that maybe
sure
in
his
at
Fleetwood
days? Yeah,
I played against him a few times, I'm certain. But yeah, he's had a fantastic career. And you talk about somebody that's been a shining light and for the EFL. It's Jamie Vardy, somebody that's come up through the ranks and been able to do it at the top level and show that players that start and have humble beginnings can play it and do it in the Premier League. So yeah, good on him. He's had a great career there, and he might not be finished yet. We shall see where he goes after this.
Yes, we will see. I'm sure many clubs, Wrexham potentially, sniffing around Jamie Vardy. Let's go through the leagues then. I've given you some of the Premier League score lines. West Ham 2-1 up now away at Brighton. Newcastle 3-0 up against Ipswich. Fulham have equalised against Southampton. Emile Smith-Rowe with the equalising goal for Fulham. So that game's 1-1. And Wolves, yes, lead Leicester 2-0. Should have been 2-1, but Vardy did not convert that penalty. I've got a huge goal to tell you about in the Championship. We'll get there after I give you these scores. Blackburn 2-1 up against Watford. It's goalless between Cardiff and West Brom. Hull 0. Hold your horses. Derby 1. That is a massive goal at the bottom of the Championship. Your game of the day, Calv, is not going to be a stinky dead rubber after all. And what does that mean for the bottom of the Championship? With Derby winning, if they can hold out, they would leapfrog Preston and Luton. They'd be up to 19th in the table on 49 points. Goal difference being having a massive part to play for the Rams. Preston below them, losing today 2-0 to Plymouth. Hull would drop down into the bottom three. Luton would just be out of it by a point, but if Hull lose today, they're in all sorts of trouble, with Plymouth winning as well, breathing down their necks. It is going to be tasty on the final day of the season if all scores remain like this. Okay, the rest of the Championship scorelines. Middlesbrough versus Norwich is goalless still. Millwall are 1-0 up against Swansea. Oxford United 2-0 up against Sunderland. Preston 0, Plymouth 2, and Sheffield Wednesday 1, Portsmouth 1. Simon Mahon, can you give us League One, please?
Yeah, Barnsley have got one back through John Russell, but they're still losing 2-1 at home against Shrewsbury. Burton 1-0 up against Cambridge. An absolutely massive goal that may well keep Burton up. Crawley 3-0 up at home against Northampton now, but I don't think it'll be enough for them. Exeter 2-1 up against Huddersfield. Peterborough Bolton 1-1. Wigan Blackpool 1-1. But there was an absolutely massive 5 minutes at Stockport. Collar and Alafe both scoring for them. They went from 2-1 down to 3-2 up at home against Lincoln. That moves them to third in the table. They are now 2 points behind Wrexham.
Coming into the final minutes here in League Two. Barrow are currently beating Bromley 3-2. Cheltenham and Carlisle are drawing 2 goals apiece. Could have huge ramifications at the bottom of League Two, of course. Chesterfield beating Morecambe 4-1. Morecambe already relegated from League Two. Fleetwood are beating Newport 2-0. Gillingham and Swindon is 1 apiece. MK Dons and Grimsby is goalless. Salford 4 Colchester 1. Tranmere are beating Crewe 1-0. I think they might have some news coming from that game. Yes, there has been a second. Tranmere 2, Crewe 0. Christian Dennis with it 87 minutes in. And Walsall are trailing 1-0 at home against Accrington. And Walsall have had a player sent off as well. Things going from bad to worse there.
That is terrible for the Saddlers.
Wheels have come off, haven't they?
The wheels, well, I don't think that quite
the horseshoes
covers
have
it.
come off.
the car's fallen apart. Calv, what has happened to Walsall? Can you sum it up?
I don't want to be as harsh as just saying Nathan Lowe, but it comes to mind. You had a presence, a talisman, somebody that maybe covered over some cracks, maybe papered. I tried to say it 4 times, couldn't say it. Papered over some cracks at Walsall, where you were watching their performances and they were winning games because Nathan Lowe was providing goals, but they probably weren't putting in the performances that were worthy of winning those games. And we're seeing them struggling now in that domain, and it must be so sad. I mean, you're a Walsall fan. I was going to say it must be sad for Saddlers fans, but they're your 5th team, aren't they? Horrible to watch.
Well, it's just bloody sad. You're right.
It's kind of your fault as well, let's be honest.
Yes,
Christmas time, you were saying it was all wrapped up.
I did say it was nailed on.
And I said, don't say that. No, they won't blow it.
Don't forget they were top of League 2 with a 12-point lead, so forgive me for getting ahead of myself. But in the past 3 months...
Not forgiven.
And the past 12 games, I mean, no win in 12 games, Calv.
13 today, it looks as well.
Yeah.
It's bonkers going, isn't it?
It is, and even when they were winning games, when this wobble sort of started, it was all about what happened at the Bescot, really, because the fans, I think, they must have felt it. The home fans could feel it from the team. The reports of, the crowd being tense, and that translates to the players, doesn't it, Calv?
It certainly does. I've discussed it numerous times with fans, even when I've done sort of forum things where I've been sat there and fans sit down. I say, you guys need to understand the feeling and emotion that you have as a fan is amplified by 10,000 or whatever, however many people are in there. You can feel it out on the pitch. As focused as you are on a game of football, you can feel the level of tension or nervousness or whatever from the crowd, and I think they have been played a part in sort of how nervous and nervy finishes that Walsall have had this season, because they've conceded a lot of late goals as well.
Yep, they have indeed. From League 2 then we'll go back to the Championship, where we have seen a huge goal. As I said, Derby winning 1-0 against Hull away from home as well. That takes Derby up to 19th. They leapfrog 3 teams and drop Hull down into the bottom 3. Wow. Josh Shreve, how are the teams, how are the fans feeling about this one?
Yeah, Nat Phillips scoring that headed goal for Derby, and Jem saying, what a ball that was from Fozzie, what a header, please hold on now. And Hull fan Hans says, badly run club. This time last year they were near the playoffs, now they're on the verge of relegation. Neil chiming in with, getting what we deserve. It's an awful performance.
Wow, savage stuff from the fans today. But Hull City in heaps of trouble. Calv, how do they get out of this?
Well, they've got Portsmouth next week, I believe, in their last game of the season, so that should be a very interesting finish for them. But they've only got themselves to blame, I think, especially the back end of this season. They've not really performed consistency. We're talking about chance creation. You've not seen Hull have plenty of shots in a game or put the ball in the right areas to score goals. So anytime a team's inadequate really in attacking, then you feel for them, you worry for them, because it's all good keeping clean sheets, but if you're not looking as sharp as you should be going the other way, then you're going to struggle, and Hull have been that this season.
Okay, Hull in heaps of trouble. We are closing out. We've got about 8 minutes left here on Total Sport. Squad goals, late goals could be on the cards. Let's go through the league, starting in the Premier League. Let's see how we are as games come to an end. What a game here between Brighton and West Ham. Brighton were 1-0 up. West Ham took a 2-1 lead. Brighton now lead 3-2 out of nowhere. What a topsy-turvy game that is. Newcastle are 3-0 up against Ipswich. That could be the scoreline that relegates the Tractor Boys. Southampton led Fulham by 1-0 for much of this game, but Fulham have turned it around themselves at St Mary's. They're now 2-1 up. Ryan Sessegnon, who's having a bit of a swan song to his season this season, back at Fulham, giving them the winning goal, it looks like. And Wolves now 3-0 up against Leicester. Mateus Cunha with the assist to Rodrigo Gomez, the third goal there, already relegated Leicester City. Will Rood still be at Leicester come the start of next EFL season? We will see. But into the Championship, where I've had a goal. We'll get to that before these score lines. Blackburn versus Watford. Blackburn 2-1 up. Cardiff 0, West Brom 0. Derby are 1-0 up away at Hull. As we said, that is a huge one. Cardiff versus West Brom has just finished, actually. Goalless, Josh Shreve, your game of the day today.
Oh, excellent. It's a good job that mine aren't captain. Thanks for the sound effect.
But you still got the noise, so there you go. Hull losing at home to Derby 1-0. Middlesbrough versus Norwich is goalless. Millwall 1-0 up against Swansea into the 97th minute. It has finished Oxford United 2, Sunderland 0. Surely Oxford are now safe. What a result for Gary Rowett and his team, beating Sunderland by 2-0. Sunderland's terrible form continues this season. Preston have got a goal back against Plymouth, but it might be a little bit too late in that one. Preston 1, Plymouth 2, and it's 1-1 between Sheffield Wednesday and Portsmouth. That Millwall-Swansea game, by the way, has just finished. Millwall 1-0 winners. That means that they are 7th. They leapfrog Blackburn and Middlesbrough to just sit outside the playoff places, breathing down the neck of Coventry City going into the final game of the season. Okay, Simon Mahon, League One.
Yeah, Shrewsbury held on. It's a few full times in. Shrewsbury held on to win 2-1 away at Barnsley. Exeter won 3-1 at home against Huddersfield. Stockport did hold on for that massive win 3-2 at home against Lincoln. Wigan, Blackpool finished 1-1. A couple of massive results. Crawley won 3-0 at home against Northampton, and I said Burton, who were 1-0 up, and that may well keep them up. Cambridge United, Ellis Kachunga has got an equaliser for them, but they had 10 minutes of added time in the first half, so they're still playing and still have a bit of time to go there. Peterborough Bolton, that's currently 1-1, but they're in the 94th minute.
Cal, League Two.
Loads going on in League Two. The game between Barrow and Bromley has now finished 3 apiece. Very back and forth game between the two of them. Cheltenham beating Carlisle now 3-2. Carlisle looked as though they were going to keep their playoff hopes alive, and now they are trailing with only minutes to go. Chesterfield are beating Morecambe 4-1. Fleetwood 2-0 up at home against Newport. The game between Gillingham and Swindon has finished 1 apiece, but Gillingham had 2 players sent off. I think Gobe, who scored earlier on in the game, was sent off, and Johnny Williams, a mate of mine, doesn't normally do things he shouldn't, so I'm interested to see what happened in that one. MK Dons and Grimsby is goalless, still playing currently. Salford and Colchester's 4-1 ups to Salford in that one. Tranmere are beating Crewe 2-0. Tranmere have had a player sent off, and Crewe have had 2 players sent off also. It seems as though people in League 2 don't fancy the final game of the season by the looks of things. Walsall are trailing 1-0 at home against Accrington. Walsall with a man sent off, and that game has finished. Oh, to be a Walsall fan, Josh.
Yeah, I've got plenty of reaction here, I can tell you that, such as Carl, who says that the manager, Sadler, should have been sacked weeks ago. Don't even deserve the playoffs at this rate. The fans have backed them all season, and when it counts, they have let us down, the team and all the management from top to bottom. And another fan says, what is the point? We've got a bunch of bad players with no game sense.
Well, okay, well, just looking at League Two, it looks like some things are shaping up indeed, especially at the bottom of the table. Tranmere winning today, Carlisle losing. That is Carlisle relegated, unless they can somehow turn it around. I don't even think them winning would be enough, with Tranmere cruising to a 2-0 win. Carlisle, 2 successive relegations. Where do they go from here?
Well, it's going to be very difficult to come back from the National League for Carlisle. They need to sort out all of the things that are going on in the back room with the sort of development and all these types of things. Upstairs, they've had a real bad season, as we mentioned before. I think a lot of players, a lot of disjointedness, and the struggles have leaked out onto the pitch. So it's a sad day, but by the looks of things, they're going to get relegated.
Further up the table then, the playoff places shaping up. Salford up to 7th with their 4-1 win over Colchester today, knocking Grimsby out of the playoff places. Cal, could the Ammies potentially get promoted?
They certainly can. I mean, they've got Carlisle next week, so this could be the interesting one where Carlisle might have nothing to play for next week as it stands. Do they turn up and cause Salford a whole lot of problems, or do they roll over and Salford push themselves into that playoff place and cement it? They'll be joint on points on 68 with Grimsby now. Way superior goal difference as well than Grimsby, so they are favourites.
Okay, where should we go? Let's have a look at the Championship, where only 2 games are still going on. Blackburn versus Watford. Well, that is the only game still going on because it has finished Preston 1, Plymouth 2. Another huge win for Plymouth. You do wonder where this Plymouth side would be if that man Miron Muslic had come through the doors a little bit sooner.
So that's what a lot of the fans have been saying, certainly in the past fortnight on X. If you are a Plymouth fan, I'd love to hear from you in our final hour after 5 o'clock. Hashtag BBC Football, hashtag BBC EFL. Can you stay up? So close.
It's all going down to the final day, the final match day of the season. When
I
you
love those final days of the season.
Well, it's going to be
so
a tasty
exciting,
one,
isn't it?
especially at the bottom, because Derby, Preston and Luton, who have the 3 places above the drop zone, they're all on 49 points. Then you've got Hull on 48, Plymouth on 46, and Cardiff are relegated today. Cardiff are down. That is a shocking one. Get in touch on hashtag BBC EFL if you're a Cardiff fan as well. Let us know how you're feeling. But I think we need to bring the show to a close as we approach 5 o'clock. Blow that whistle, Cal. Another day, another dollar in the EFL.
It's sounding like how a lot of Cardiff fans will be feeling right now.
Yes.
I'm seeing the reactions flooding in, so we'll gather the best for after 5.
Yeah, just remind us, Josh, remind the fans how they can get in touch with the show.
Get onto X, hashtag BBC Football or hashtag BBC EFL to have your say.
Okay, Simon, we say goodbye to you. Any final words?
Always a pleasure. Just good luck for tomorrow, mate. I hope you make it round, and I hope you beat quite a few ex-Premier League footballers.
We'll see about that. I think there's been a huge goal as well, actually, in League One. Cal, do you want to give it to us before we finish?
A massive goal. Burton have snuck it in at the end. They are 2-1 up now against Cambridge.
Okay, stay with us. We're here until 6. Post-match reaction on the way, and we've got the post-match playlist coming up here on Total Sports Squad Goals.
The East stand that we're in and the South stand are calling the Forest Green players over towards them as Oldham go across to the far side. 563 Oldham fans today have been cheering their team on, trying to help them get 4th place. How important, Ruben, is that as a blow psychologically for Forest Green, beating today pretty comprehensively a team they could face again in the playoffs?
Yeah, it is, but those conditions, playoff conditions, where you know exactly what is on the line and it's one game to make or break a season, really. There'll be 2 different teams. Forest Green will be different. Oldham, if they meet each other, will be a very different game altogether. Although Oldham did really need to kind of come out and get a point at the bare minimum today to secure 4th position, because Rochdale, not only their local rivals but their rivals in the table, have gone out and done a job on Hartlepool today. 5-1 winners in that game, so it's now all pressure on Oldham, and that might psychologically do something in those playoffs if they get there.
It would indeed, as the strains of the Beatles and Hey Jude go out here at Forest Green. The South stand have stayed to applaud the Forest Green starters who traipsed off towards the dressing room. Those who came on as subs will do a little bit more warm-up. The second highest crowd here of the season of 2,801. I've seen Forest Green record a back-to-back home win, their second in 5 days. They beat Tamworth 3-0 here on Easter Monday. They've beaten Oldham by a 1-0 today, scored by Charlie McCann, set up by man of the match Joe Quigley, hit in from the corner of the penalty area sweetly into the back of Matt Hudson's net. Forest Green, one more game to go, but it's finished here today. Forest Green 1, Oldham Athletic 0.
Mark Smith, BBC Radio Gloucestershire.
It's not easy being a parent. 1 minute you're making dinner, and the next, you're being asked about the product of prime factors. And you're thinking, what's a prime factor? If you've got a child revising for exams, find out what they need on BBC Bite Size. We've got everything all in one place with subject guides, podcasts, videos, example questions and tips to help get them over the line. For getting them in the best place for exam time, just search BBC Bite Size.
Good evening, this is Match Day here on BBC Radio Gloucestershire. I'm Mark Smith. We've got an hour of reviewing our two commentary games of this afternoon, also keeping you in touch with the other scores we've